Chapter 3296. The effect isn't that great. The white-eyed wolf's heart shuddered. He thought that he could easily strip the two of their cultivation, but he didn't expect it to be so strenuous. Hurry up and kill it. One of the shadow guards roared. He had already noticed that not only was his aura and blood, but his cultivation was also slowly slipping away. This must be an innate ability that could strip cultivation. The other shadow guard nodded, his eyes filled with killing intent. Boom! 8 profound meanings with monstrous divine might charged at the white-eyed wolf. Although they didn't have supreme laws or profound meanings, their cultivation was in front of them. They were at the sovereign realm and had 8 profound meanings, all of which were the 5th profound. Even if the white-eyed wolf had supreme profound meanings, it could only be beaten up. Boom! The white-eyed wolf's eyelids twitched, and the supreme profound of the law of death appeared. The dark red waning moon was like the dusk before the end of the world, leaving behind afterglow that dyed the mountains and rivers. Even the people who had retreated far away couldn't help but feel a fatal chill. Looking at the waning moon from afar, it was as if they were looking at the arrival of the death god. Their hearts trembled. Dusk of the gods, it's only at the half-step sovereign realm and comprehended the supreme profound, one of the strongest laws in the world, the law of death. How did it do it? Everyone's heart was filled with shock. Most importantly, it was a big yellow dog. Why hadn't they heard of a big yellow dog in the Western continent that had comprehended the supreme profound? One had to know that only the big shots of the sky cloud realm had the ability to comprehend the supreme profound. A big yellow dog? No one would believe it if they said it out loud. In an instant, the supreme profound of the law of death collided with the 8 profound meanings. Without any suspense, it was completely crushed, and the waning moon shattered on the spot. The 8 profound meanings charged at the white-eyed wolf with an apocalyptic aura. Unfortunately, even with the supreme profound, it's still not a match for the 2 shadow guards. After all, the difference in cultivation is too great. However, the supreme profound is still very powerful. If this big yellow dog was 1 level stronger, or if the 2 dark guards were 1 level weaker, they would have been killed instantly. People shook their heads in pity, thinking that the white-eyed wolf was doomed to die. Even the 2 secret guards were the same. Clang! However, at this moment, accompanied by a loud clang, a bolt of lightning tore through the sky and landed in front of the white-eyed wolf. It was a heavenly halberd. Do I need you to meddle in my business? The white-eyed wolf glared at Qin Feiyang. Still not happy? Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. Just as he was about to retrieve the sky piercer, the white-eyed wolf grinned. He grabbed the sky piercer and charged towards the 6 profound meanings. This looks like Old High's supreme-level heaven-defying divine artifact, the dragon-subduing halberd. The pupils of the 2 secret guards contracted, their eyes filled with bewilderment. That was right. This was the dragon-subduing halberd. However, didn't they hear that Elder Hai had given the dragon-subduing halberd to Nie Xiang during the exchange conference, and it was snatched away by Qin Feiyang? How could it be in this person's hands? The 2 of them shuddered and looked at Qin Feiyang. They exclaimed, "Are you, that's right. I'm the Qin Feiyang you're looking for." Qin Feiyang smiled. What? The 2 secret guards' expressions changed. They looked at the city lord in the distance and shouted, "Inform the deacon immediately that Qin Feiyang is in Jinyuan City." Qin Feiyang. The city lord's expression also changed when he heard this. He quickly took out the divine voice stone. He's Qin Feiyang? At the same time, the gazes of the other people also shot towards Qin Feiyang. This fierce person who forced Elder Hai to self-detonate, caused the Blood Hall to suffer losses, and barged into the 9-Dragon Mountain Range, was actually in Jinyuan City? Qin Dage, Yueqing's expression also changed when she heard that they were going to inform the Blood Hall's deacon. Don't panic. Qin Feiyang smiled. He looked at Snow and said, "You stay here and protect Yueqing." After saying this, he took a step forward. As if he had crossed space and time, he appeared in front of the city lord in a few flashes. So fast. Yueqing whispered. This was definitely a supreme-level support divine technique. That's right. Spacetime step was indeed a supreme-level support divine technique. After being improved by the little rabbit, it still had a strong lethality. In other words, this was no longer just a support divine technique. It was a super killing technique that combined both killing and support. Give me the divine voice stone. Qin Feiyang stretched out his hand and looked at the city lord with a smile. The city lord instinctively shook his head. However, when he saw the smile on Qin Feiyang's face, he couldn't help but shiver. He quickly handed over the divine voice stone. Qin Feiyang grabbed the divine voice stone and was about to crush it. However, at this moment, a shadow appeared. Obviously, it must be the deacon. Qin Feiyang thought for a moment and raised his head to look at the shadow. It was a middle-aged man about 2 meters tall. His upper body was bare, and he looked extremely valiant. When he saw Qin Feiyang, the middle-aged man raised his eyebrows and asked, "This is the divine voice stone of the city lord of Jinyuan City. Why isn't he talking to me, but you? Who are you?" "Then who are you?" Qin Feiyang asked. "I am the 6th deacon, one of the 10 deacons of the Blood Hall," the middle-aged man said proudly. "6th deacon," Qin Feiyang murmured and asked, "You seem to be very strong?" Huh, when the middle-aged man heard this, he couldn't help but laugh. If he wasn't strong, how could he become a deacon of the Blood Hall? This kid must be sick in the head to ask such a stupid question. At the same time, when the city lord saw that Qin Feiyang's attention was on the 6th deacon, his eyes flashed coldly. He took out a dagger and charged at Qin Feiyang. "You're courting death." Qin Feiyang shook his head and sighed. He raised his hand and the law of lightning appeared. It turned into lightning and instantly drowned the city lord like a tide. Ah! With a miserable cry, the city lord was destroyed on the spot. One had to know that Qin Feiyang was now a lesser sovereign, and the city lord was only a half-step sovereign. To Qin Feiyang, wasn't it a matter of seconds? The 6th deacon witnessed this scene with his own eyes, and a monstrous rage appeared on his face. However, without waiting for him to speak, the phantom disappeared. Because the divine sound transmission stone belonged to the city lord, once the city lord died, the contract bridge was gone, and the conversation was naturally interrupted. Qin Feiyang crushed the divine sound transmission stone and looked at the blood mist floating in the void in front of him. For a moment, his heart was filled with emotions. When he first entered the sky cloud realm, half-step sovereigns were godlike existences. When he saw them, he could only run away. But now, he could kill them with a wave of his hand. The gap was a bit big. It seemed that he indeed had the capital to move unhindered in the sky cloud realm. Looking around again, at this moment, everyone in Jinyuan City, including the 4 city guards, was looking at Qin Feiyang with a horrified expression. The city lord was killed in seconds just like that? And in front of the 6th deacon? Wasn't this a naked provocation? Sure enough, he deserved his reputation. He wasn't afraid of anything. At the same time, Yueqing's eyes were also shining with admiration. Although she had known Qin Feiyang for a long time, it was the first time she saw Qin Feiyang really fight. Not to mention his strength, just his courage alone was admirable. Phew. Qin Feiyang let out a long breath, looked up at the white-eyed wolf and said, "We can't stay here for long. Let's end this quickly." Understood. The white-eyed wolf responded without looking back. The dragon-subduing halberd was a supreme-level heaven-defying divine artifact. Although it could recover on its own, the white-eyed wolf didn't let it use its full strength. It wanted to rely on its own ability to defeat the two. The golden beast phantom was still crazily devouring the blood of the two. The two could clearly feel that their cultivation was on the verge of falling. Boom! Suddenly, a terrifying aura descended from the sky. So fast. Qin Feiyang suddenly looked up and saw a middle-aged man descending from the void above. It was the sixth deacon. White-eyed wolf, don't fight anymore. Let's go. Qin Feiyang rushed toward Yuqing and Snowflake without hesitation. Looking at Snowflake, he shouted, "Open the space-time passage quickly." Snowflake shook the void, and a space-time passage suddenly appeared. The white-eyed wolf looked up at the sixth deacon, and then at the two dark guards. Its eyes were full of unwillingness. But at this moment, the dragon-subduing halberd swept up the white-eyed wolf and rushed toward the space-time passage at lightning speed. The sixth deacon glanced down and fixed his eyes on Qin Feiyang and the others. He shouted, "Stop them." The two dark guards waved their hands, and 8 profound meanings appeared. They rushed toward Qin Feiyang and the others. "Don't be complacent. I'll take your lives in the future." The white-eyed wolf roared angrily. The crescent moon appeared and blasted toward the two dark guards. This is the supreme profound meaning of the law of death, twilight of the gods. Seeing this, the sixth deacon was dumbfounded. How was this possible? A half-step sovereign vicious beast had actually grasped the highest profundities of the strongest law? Was this a dream? Qin Feiyang and the others rushed into the space-time passage one after another. Boom! At the same time, the waning moon also collided with the 8 profound meanings, and it crushed them as easily as crushing dry weeds. Then, the 8 profound meanings bombarded the space-time passage in a frenzy. But at this moment, a blade swept out of the space-time passage, carrying a monstrous power, and blasted toward the 8 profound meanings. This was formed by the dragon-subduing halberd. The 8 profound meanings were finally blocked. The space-time passage quickly closed. Who are they? The sixth deacon came back to his senses and looked at the two dark guards. It was too unbelievable. The supreme profound meaning of the law of death, in the entire Western continent, only the Grand Deacon had mastered it. "Sir, didn't you see the dragon-subduing halberd? That man is Qin Feiyang." The two dark guards exclaimed. "What? The dragon-subduing halberd? Qin Feiyang?" The sixth deacon was stunned. He was really slow to realize. But he couldn't be blamed. When the city lord sent him a message, the divine voice stone was in Qin Feiyang's hands. At that time, the city lord only wanted to sneak attack Qin Feiyang and earn a reward. He didn't tell the sixth deacon that he was Qin Feiyang. That was why he didn't know until now. As for the dragon-subduing halberd, he didn't pay much attention to it because he was shocked by the supreme profound meaning of the law of death. Hurry up and find them. They must be hiding somewhere nearby. Even if you have to dig 3 feet into the ground, you must find them. When he came back to his senses, the sixth deacon roared. The two dark guards immediately led the city lord mansion's guards in all directions. Chapter 3297. I didn't expect them to come to such a remote place. The sixth deacon frowned and took out a voice transmission stone. Boom! Soon, a black-robed man appeared. It was the Dark Guard commander. "Commander, we found them." The sixth deacon had a respectful expression when he faced the Dark Guard commander. "Where are they?" The Dark Guard commander asked. "Jinyuan City. But they have already escaped." The sixth deacon frowned. "Escaped?" The Dark Guard commander raised his eyebrows and shouted, "What's the matter with you? Didn't I tell you in advance not to alert the enemy when you find them?" "It's not me. It's your Dark Guard commander." The sixth deacon felt very innocent. Although he was a deacon of the Blood Hall and had a high position, the Dark Guards were not under his jurisdiction. The Dark Guards of the Blood Hall only recognized one person, and that was the Dark Guard commander. "You really can't do anything right." The Dark Guard commander shouted angrily. "Calm down first. Although they escaped, I guess that they should be hiding near Jinyuan City, so I have already ordered them to search for them. But there is one thing that I find very inconceivable. The sixth deacon said in a deep voice. What is it? The Dark Guard commander was suspicious. Qin Feiyang has a big yellow dog by his side. He actually mastered the supreme profound of the law of death. The sixth deacon said in shock. What? Are you sure you saw the supreme profound of the law of death? The Dark Guard commander also turned pale with fright. I'm sure. The sixth deacon nodded and said, the most important thing is that his cultivation is only at the half-step dominator realm. Half-step dominator realm, the supreme profound of the strongest law, the Dark Guard commander murmured. If it wasn't from the sixth deacon's mouth, he would never believe it. Because it was simply impossible. In the history of the Sky Cloud realm, there had never been such a monster, let alone a fierce beast. Okay. I will go and report to the Hall Master first. The Shadow Guard commander pondered for a while and said something to the sixth deacon. Then, he turned off the holy sound transmission stone. When the Dark Guard commander found the Blood Hall Master and learned that the White-Eyed Wolf had mastered the ultimacy, the Blood Hall Master was extremely shocked. He immediately ordered the Dark Guard commander to bring people to Jinyuan City. No matter what, they had to find Qin Feiyang. And this time, the focus was no longer on Qin Feiyang, the madman, and the White-Eyed Wolf. He had to be eliminated. To be able to comprehend a supreme profundity at the half-step sovereign level, if such a talent was allowed to continue growing, he would be a greater threat to the Blood Hall than Qin Feiyang and the madman. At the same time, Mad Bull Mountain. Qin Feiyang and Yuqing stood at the top of the mountain and looked at the White-Eyed Wolf. Snowflake and the Sky Piercer were also floating on the side. The White-Eyed Wolf, on the other hand, looked annoyed. Look at you. You seem to be at a disadvantage. Qin Feiyang couldn't help but roll his eyes. I was at a disadvantage to begin with. The White-Eyed Wolf roared. Then tell me, how are you at a disadvantage? Qin Feiyang looked puzzled. After fighting with them for so long, I still can't kill them. If that's not a disadvantage, then what is? The White-Eyed Wolf snorted. The corner of Qin Feiyang's mouth twitched as he said in a speechless manner, that's enough. What's their cultivation level and what's your cultivation level? If it were any other half-step dominator, no, even a low-level dominator would be instantly killed by them. That's right. For you to be able to fight with them for so long, you're already very strong. Yuqing nodded. Don't comfort me. In any case, I'm very injured this time. The White-Eyed Wolf lay on the ground, his face full of displeasure. Qin Feiyang was helpless. How could he still be injured? Back then, as an initial imperishable realm cultivator, he had fought Nie Xiang, an initial imperishable realm cultivator. He had been forced into a desperate situation and had almost lost his life. Compared to him, what was this ingrate? He really didn't know how to be content. Did he really think that he could rely on a supreme profundity to become invincible in the world? 2 late-stage sovereigns, and also secret guards of the Blood Hall. Not to mention a half-step sovereign, even a late-stage sovereign of the same realm might not be their match. But then again, the White-Eyed Wolf's second innate ability wasn't very effective. After so long, he still couldn't deprive them of their cultivation. White-Eyed Wolf, is your second innate ability really useful in the sovereign realm? Qin Feiyang asked curiously. Nonsense. Give me a little more time, and I'll definitely be able to deprive them of a minor realm of cultivation. The White-Eyed Wolf smiled proudly. In that case, it's still because the difference in cultivation is too great. So, you should hurry up and cultivate. Qin Feiyang said. No, I want to directly deprive them of their power of law, and it has to be a supreme law. The White-Eyed Wolf snorted coldly. Qin Feiyang rubbed his forehead. This guy was too greedy. If he wasn't so greedy, he could really step into the sovereign realm at any time. At that time, although he only grasped the supreme profundity of the death law, he would at least be in existence on the same level as Old Hai and the others. Coupled with the ancient castle and the slaughter zone, Was there any place in the sky cloud realm that they couldn't go? They could be completely unscrupulous. However, it was understandable for the white-eyed wolf to have such thoughts. After all, this kind of innate ability was too rare, and there were only 6 chances to fuse it. If it were Qin Feiyang, he would also prioritize the various supreme laws. Yuqin, who was at the side, also vaguely understood some of it. She was extremely shocked. Depriving others of their power of law? Could it be that the Wolf King's death law wasn't comprehended by himself, but was instead plundered from others? And what was the second innate ability that could deprive the cultivation of a sovereign realm? What kind of monster was this Wolf King in front of her? No matter what, you're already considered a true heaven-defying battle soul. It's even more powerful than mine. Qin Feiyang's face was filled with envy. Of course. The white-eyed wolf smiled proudly. These words weren't to comfort the white-eyed wolf. Qin Feiyang was really envious. Although his Eye of Heaven was one of the top 10 heaven-defying battle souls, it didn't seem to be worthy of the word heaven-defying. Because the Eye of Heaven couldn't replicate heaven-defying techniques and artifacts. Of course. Before coming to the sky cloud realm, the Eye of Heaven was indeed heaven-defying. It could even be said that once the Eye of Heaven was opened, there was no opponent in the world. However, after entering the sky cloud realm, as more and more heaven-defying artifacts emerged, and as more and more profundities appeared, the Eye of Heaven didn't seem to be of much use. Shouldn't a true heaven-defying battle soul be the same as the white-eyed wolf's battle soul and be able to replicate anything? The 6-word divine art was evolving. The white-eyed wolf's battle soul was also evolving. Was it time for his fighting soul to evolve? However, he believed that since it was called a heaven-defying battle soul, it would shine sooner or later. Qin Feiyang took a deep breath and looked at the white-eyed wolf. Let's move first. This place is too close to Jinyuan City. We can't stay here any longer. Otherwise, we'll be found by the Blood Palace sooner or later. Where are we going? Do you know the Western continent? Do you know where it's safe and where it's not? The white-eyed wolf rolled its eyes at him. Qin Feiyang heard this and felt a little awkward. Suddenly, he turned his head and looked at the dragon subduing halberd. How could he forget about this guy? It used to be Old Hai's divine artifact, so its understanding of the Western continent must be better than Xingda. I'm really stupid. Qin Feiyang slapped his head and felt very vexed. Qin Dage, why are you scolding yourself for no reason? Yuqin looked at him suspiciously. My brain is rusty. The white-eyed wolf looked at him with disdain. You're the one who's rusty. Qin Feiyang glared at the white-eyed wolf and looked at the dragon subduing halberd. Tell me, which part of the Western continent is safer? At this time, the dragon subduing halberd pondered for a while and said, I personally think that no place is safe because the Blood Palace must be searching for you all in the Western continent. That's true. Qin Feiyang nodded. However, we can't generalize everything. Sometimes, the most dangerous place is undoubtedly the safest place. The dragon subduing halberd said again. Qin Feiyang was stunned. He thought for a while and said in surprise, You mean, the 9-Dragon Mountain Range? That's right. Now that the Blood Palace knows that you're around Jinyuan City, their main search area will be around Jinyuan City. We might as well do the opposite and go to the Sky Dragon Mountain Range. Because they won't expect us to go to the Sky Dragon Mountain Range at this time. Of course. It's impossible for us to really step into the Sky Dragon Mountain Range. After all, the Sky Dragon Mountain Range is the Blood Palace's territory. If we're discovered, it'll be harder for us to escape. We'll hide near the Sky Dragon Mountain Range. The dragon subduing halberd said. Okay. Give me the coordinates. Qin Feiyang nodded. Then let's go to Maple Valley. There aren't many fierce beasts there and they're not very strong. Even if they discover us, we can get rid of them immediately. The dragon subduing halberd said and gave Qin Feiyang the coordinates. Let's go. Qin Feiyang looked at Snowflake and smiled. Snowflake immediately opened a space-time passage. Then, Qin Feiyang and the others retracted their auras and stepped into the passage. In just a moment, they appeared in a valley. The valley was about a few miles long and there were patches of maple trees. The fiery red leaves made the valley look like a sea of fire. Qin Feiyang immediately looked around and didn't see any fierce beasts. There were only a few eternal realm beasts. However, they hid their auras, so the fierce beasts didn't discover them. Outside the Maple Valley is the Sky Dragon Mountain Range. You can see it clearly if you stand on the top of the mountain in front. The dragon subduing halberd said. Qin Feiyang looked up and saw that the Maple Valley was surrounded by mountains. The mountain in front of them was more than 1,000 feet high and was covered with dense maple trees. They looked like young girls in fiery robes swaying in the wind. Let's go up and have a look. Qin Feiyang took a step and landed on the top of the mountain. The Yueqing and the white-eyed wolf, the two incredible divine artifacts, followed closely behind. Qin Feiyang looked at the top of the mountain and walked toward the cliff in front. When he reached the cliff, his field of vision suddenly widened. In front of him was a stretch of mountains and rivers that stretched as far as the eye could see. Numerous enormous peaks towered into the sky like dragons and tigers, and they emitted a majestic aura that shook one's heart. Chapter 3298. In the mountains, old trees were rooted and ferocious beasts were everywhere. Rapid rivers ran from north to south and disciples of the Blood Hall could be seen from time to time. Strange, suddenly. The weapon spirit of the dragon subduing halberd muttered. What's strange? Qin Feiyang turned his head and looked at it suspiciously. Look at the edge of the Sky Dragon Mountain range below. The weapon spirit said. Qin Feiyang, the white-eyed wolf and Yueqing looked down. Soon, they found something strange in front of a mountain on the left side below. There were 10 black-robed men, who were obviously the dark guards of the Blood Hall. They were divided into 2 rows, each with 5 people standing straight, but there was a distance between them. No one was guarding here before. And it's meaningless to guard here. Because if you really want to enter the Sky Dragon Mountain Range, you can just teleport in or sneak in from other places. After all, this is not the only way. The weapon spirit of the dragon subduing halberd whispered. Whoosh. Not long after the voice sounded. Accompanied by the sound of breaking air, several disciples of the Blood Hall flew out from the Sky Dragon Mountain Range and landed in front of the 10 men. They bowed and said, Greetings, Dark Guards. Are we going out? One of the Dark Guards asked. Yes. We have to go out for a while. The disciples of the Blood Hall nodded respectfully. The Dark Guard immediately released his divine sense and shrouded the disciples of the Blood Hall. He also took out his Heaven's Eye stone and checked them one by one. After confirming that there was no problem, one of the Dark Guards took out a token and pressed it in the void behind him. Buzz! Immediately, a light curtain appeared between the 10 men and then a light door quickly opened. This is a special time, be careful. The Dark Guard warned. Yes. The disciples of the Blood Hall responded respectfully and stepped into the light door one after another. They then rose into the air and quickly went away. There's a light curtain between them. Yueqing suddenly realized. No. This is not just a light curtain. Qin Feiyang shook his head and looked up at the 9 Dragon Mountain Range. He said in a deep voice, I'm afraid that the entire 9 Dragon Mountain Range is now covered in a giant barrier. That should be the case. In other words, this is the only entrance and exit. 10 hidden guards, 5 inside the barrier and 5 outside. They are all Paragon sovereigns. Furthermore, we also need their identity plates in order to open the spirit formation. Said the weapon spirit of the dragon subduing halberd. Whoosh. Another moment passed. More than a dozen Blood Hall disciples flew in from the outside. The 5 secret guards outside the barrier released their divine senses to search again. Suddenly, one of the secret guards frowned. He looked at one of the disciples and asked, "You have a spatial divine item?" "Yes." The disciple nodded. "I want to go in and check," the secret guard said. The disciple didn't resist. Of course, he didn't dare to resist. He obediently accepted the inspection. When the shadow guard walked out of the spatial divine object, he looked at the shadow guard holding the token inside the barrier and nodded. "No problem." At this moment, the secret guard with the token opened the barrier and allowed the disciples to enter the Heavenly Dragon Mountain range. Even spatial divine objects have to be inspected. This is too strict. There's no other way. Who asked Qin Feiyang to be so cunning? If the secret guard didn't do this, he might swagger in front of us. The key is that we don't know that the person standing in front of us is Qin Feiyang. So, bear with it. When Qin Feiyang is caught, the barrier will naturally be removed. The disciples whispered a few words and then dispersed and disappeared into the depths of the mountain range. On the top of the mountain, Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf couldn't help swallowing their saliva when they saw this scene. Fortunately, they didn't decide to sneak into the blood hall at that time. Otherwise, no matter how well they hid, they would be found out. This defense was too terrifying. Even spatial divine objects had to be checked inside. It could be said that even a mosquito couldn't fly in now. Now, let's just stay outside and find a way to let Pei Wanli come out by himself. Qin Feiyang shook his head and sighed. Although it was a waste of energy and time, there was no other way. In short, before taking action against the Blood Hall, they must first rescue the Mermaid Emperor and the White-Winged Emperor. Otherwise, they would definitely be restrained and might even kill the two. Little Qin Zi, don't forget, there are still the 4 heaven-defying divine artifacts. The white-eyed wolf reminded. Qin Feiyang was stunned, patted his head, and smiled bitterly. "If you didn't mention it, I really would have neglected it." When the Mermaid Emperor and the other 3 left, they brought along the 2 ancestors' heaven-defying divine artifacts, the purple gold dragon ball, the broken sword, the thieving heaven realm, and the 1,000 phoenix mountain. These 4 heaven-defying divine artifacts were either in the hands of the ice dragon or the blood hall. Right. The white-winged emperor and the sword emperor definitely knew. Immediately, he sent a sound transmission to the sword emperor, senior sword emperor, who has the 2 ancestors' heaven-defying divine artifacts now. It was snatched away by the ice dragon. Soon, the sword emperor's voice sounded in Qin Feiyang's mind. "This bastard, it's just a low-level heaven-defying divine artifact, it's interested in it?" Qin Feiyang said in annoyance. "When he kidnapped us, we used these 4 heaven-defying divine artifacts to counterattack, so he took them away. I guess it's not worth much in his eyes," the sword emperor said. "Even if it's not worth much, we have to get it back. There's also Chang Shui. We must not leave it in their hands like this." Qin Feiyang clenched his hands. Although Chang Shui's performance in the past was not very strong now, one had to know that this was his companion divine artifact. Just like the ancient castle, it was definitely not as simple as it looked before. After observing for a while, Qin Feiyang brought everyone into the Black Tortoise realm. "This is your space divine artifact?" "It's too big." Yueqing looked around in surprise. "It's all right." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. "This is what you call all right? You're too modest." Yueqing smiled bitterly. She had never seen such a large space divine artifact. Especially the medicinal herbs and resources here, it was comparable to a divine treasury. "Pai Lupi." Qin Feiyang called out. Whoosh! A figure flashed over like lightning and landed beside Qin Feiyang. Seeing that he had brought another beautiful woman, Pai Lupi felt a myriad of emotions. The Lord Sovereign was too charming. "Pai Lupi, arrange a place for Yueqing to stay." Qin Feiyang smiled and instructed, then transmitted, "Keep an eye on her and don't let her leave the demonic land." Also, don't tell her anything about the Black Tortoise realm. Pai Lupi's heart trembled. It seemed that the Lord Sovereign did not trust this woman very much. He bowed and said, "Yes. Miss, please follow me." Then, he looked at Yuqing and made an inviting gesture, then walked toward a courtyard not far away. "Won't it be dangerous to leave her here?" The white-eyed wolf frowned. "Don't worry, I've already warned Pai Lupi." Qin Feiyang smiled and turned to look at the dragon subduing halberd. He asked, "You've been with Old Hai for so long, so you should know about the situation between Old Hai and the Blood Hall Master, right?" "I know a little." The dragon subduing halberd replied. "Does the Blood Hall Master have any other children other than his grandson, Pei Wanli? Especially those who care a lot about him?" Qin Feiyang asked. The dragon subduing halberd pondered for a while and said, "The Blood Hall Master has a son and a daughter called Pei Dason and Pei Hongyu. They both hold important positions in the Blood Hall." "Pei Dason, Pei Hongyu," Qin Feiyang murmured and asked, "How strong are they?" "They've already reached the perfection sovereign realm, but they haven't comprehended the strongest law or the highest profound. In terms of strength, they're considered ordinary among the perfection sovereign realm. As for their positions in the Blood Hall, they're the Hall Master and Vice Hall Master of the Resource Hall. In other words, the entire Blood Hall. No, the entire Western continent's resources are under their control. For example, they're in charge of all the major cities and trading places in the Western continent." The dragon subduing halberd said. "It's indeed an important position." Qin Feiyang sneered. "Isn't that obvious? Keep the goodies within the family. Things like resources must be given to the most trusted and closest people." The white-eyed wolf pursed his lips. "Pei Wanli is Pei Dason's son and only son. Therefore, not only Pei Dason, but even the Blood Hall Master, as his grandfather, loves him very much." The dragon subduing halberd said. "Only son?" Qin Feiyang was stunned and asked, "What about Pei Hongyu?" "I heard that Pei Hongyu used to have a daughter, but," at this point, the dragon subduing halberd hesitated. "What's wrong?" Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf looked at it suspiciously. "It's like this. Pei Hongyu did give birth to a daughter, but I heard that she met with a disaster not long after she was born and died." The dragon subduing halberd said. "Died?" Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf looked at each other and asked, "How did she die?" "I don't know about that. I rarely hear them mention this matter. In short, every time I see Pei Hongyu, she has a sad look on her face." The dragon subduing halberd said. "I know." Suddenly, the white-eyed wolf's eyes lit up. "What do you know?" Qin Feiyang was suspicious. It must be that the Blood Hall Master has done too many immoral things and suffered retribution. The white-eyed wolf laughed. "Nonsense." Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes and asked, "That is to say, in this generation of the Pei family, Pei Wanli is the only son?" "Yes." The dragon subduing halberd answered. "That's good. The only son must care a lot." The white-eyed wolf laughed evilly. A cold light flashed in Qin Feiyang's eyes and he asked, "What about Elder Hai?" "Old Hai only has a single son. However, this son of his, he has two. But Elder Hai's two grandsons. In the end, they are just like Pei Wanli. They are spoiled and don't live up to expectations, which makes Elder Hai very dissatisfied. Of course, this can't deny Elder Hai's love and care for them." The dragon subduing halberd said. Qin Feiyang's heart skipped a beat and he asked, "What are their names?" "One is called Hai Qingji, and the other is called Hai Qingliang. As for their cultivation, before the last exchange meeting, when I saw them, they were only at the inextinguishable realm." The dragon subduing halberd said. "Then do you know where they might be hiding now?" Qin Feiyang asked. "In the past, they often hung around outside. But now, it's obvious that they're all obediently staying in the Blood Hall." The dragon subduing halberd smiled. "Looks like I'll have two more targets now." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly, then looked at the snowflake and the dragon-subduing halberd and said, "Don't do anything now. Go to the land of origin first." "Okay." The two divine artifacts answered and went straight to the sky. Besides the dragon-subduing halberd, the crimson fire armor, the demon dragon sword, the Qilin divine sword, the ghost armor, and the white phoenix divine sword were also in the land of origin. Now, there were 20 or 30 divine artifacts in the land of origin. There were 3 supreme-level heaven-defying divine artifacts. Almost all of the others had evolved into legendary divine artifacts. Only the heaven-defying divine artifacts that he had snatched from Zhang Santian and the others were still at the pinnacle level. Qin Feiyang didn't ask for much. There were so many divine artifacts. As long as 2 or 3 of them could evolve into Dominator divine weapons in the end, it would be enough. Chapter 3299. If others knew about this idea, they would be so shocked that they couldn't close their mouths. 2 divine artifacts evolving into Dominator divine weapons. You must be dreaming. 1 sovereign weapon was enough to create a super force, let alone 2 or 3. If there were so many sovereign weapons, wouldn't they be invincible? For example, the Blood Palace. With the addition of the Dragon God's sword and the Ice Dragon's sacred sword, as well as the Horsetail Whisk, it could be said that no force in the entire Sky Cloud realm dared to compete with the Blood Palace. The Demon Palace was the best example. Last time, the Blood Palace Master brought a group of giants to the Demon Palace in public. If it was before, the Demon Palace would never let it go. What right do you have to bring people to my Demon Palace to act like a tyrant? But in the end, the Demon Palace didn't fight back because the Blood Palace had 3 sovereign weapons. Similarly, if they didn't have the Dragon God's sword and the Ice Dragon's sacred sword, the Blood Palace wouldn't have the guts to blatantly run to the Demon Palace. At the same time, the Demon Palace tried to be on good terms with Qin Feiyang because Qin Feiyang had a sovereign weapon. Moreover, Qin Feiyang himself also mastered a divine art that could compete with a sovereign weapon. This was equivalent to 2 sovereign weapons. Therefore, as long as the Demon Palace fought with Qin Feiyang, the Blood Palace wouldn't dare to attack the Eastern Continent even if they had 3 sovereign weapons. And the reason why the Divine Palace and the Sacred Palace didn't intervene in the grudge between Qin Feiyang and the Blood Palace in the last exchange was also because of this. They were afraid of offending Qin Feiyang and the Blood Palace, so they might as well play their part and be a foil to watch the performance of Qin Feiyang and the Blood Palace. In short, the appearance of a sovereign weapon could directly affect the situation in the Sky Cloud realm. In fact, the Blood Palace was also quite unlucky. With 3 sovereign weapons, they were fully qualified to be the boss of the Sky Cloud realm. It was definitely not enough to rule the Sky Cloud realm. After all, the Demon Palace, the Sacred Palace, and the Sacred Palace weren't stupid. If the Blood Palace wanted to rule the Sky Cloud realm, then the 3 forces would form an alliance and fight the Blood Palace. Unfortunately, because of the appearance of Qin Feiyang, the Blood Hall not only failed to become the leader of the Sky Cloud realm, but also fell into a state of disrepute. If he was even more like a rat crossing the street, everyone would spurn him. Then again, if it weren't for Qin Feiyang, the Blood Hall wouldn't have been able to obtain the Celestial Dragon God's Sword and Ice Dragon's Sacred Sword. Next, before Xingde returned, Qin Feiyang entered the ancient castle to comprehend the laws of force, war, and wind. As for the law of light, it had to be put aside for the time being. This was because the laws of strength, the laws of war, and the laws of wind were all related to the 6-word divine formula. The return formula, the law of force. The battle symbol formula, the law of war. The movement character art, the law of wind. Through the verification of the kill symbol art and the law of slaughter, it was now certain that the 3 great divine arts were closely related to the power of law. As such, he definitely had to pay special attention to the 3 great laws. Once he comprehended the 5th profundity of these 3 laws, the return, battle, and attainment formulas would all be upgraded to supreme-grade heaven-defying divine arts. How good would that be? Therefore, the law of light naturally had to be put aside. As for the laws of war, the laws of force, and the laws of wind, they weren't very rare. Last time, when Elder Hua, the Vice Alliance leader, the Hall of Famers, Chu Yun, and the Devil Hall Master were in the Black Tortoise world, they had all explained it. Qin Feiyang was also listening the entire time, so there were many things that he could understand with just a little bit of thought. However, it didn't mean that after listening to the explanation, success would follow naturally. If that was the case, then wouldn't there be as many Perfection Dominator realm experts as dogs? The explanation was just an overview. The key points still had to be found by oneself. In the blink of an eye. Black Tortoise World, 5,000 years had passed. Boom! On this day, a shocking murderous aura rushed out from the ancient castle. Following closely, a blood-colored giant sword appeared out of nowhere, and a terrifying murderous aura enveloped the Devil's Land, shocking everyone. This is the fifth profundity of the law of slaughter, heaven punishing. Yi Tian walked out of the courtyard, his eyes filled with envy. Accompanied by an arrogant laughter, Madman rushed out of the ancient castle and stood in the air above the ancient castle, his aura crazily rising. Boom! In just a few breaths, his aura broke through the shackles of Initial Dominator and stepped into the ranks of Initial Dominator. So it's him. Sigh. Compared to these two guys, I, the #1 genius of the Rogue Cultivator Alliance, is really a joke. Yi Tian shook his head. Before Qin Feiyang and Madman appeared, he still felt that he was not bad, and that he was worthy of the title of genius. But now, looking at Qin Feiyang and Madman who were constantly growing, the pride in his heart had disappeared. So-called geniuses were nothing but a joke. However, he also knew that these two monsters couldn't be looked at with ordinary eyes at all. If he were to really compare with them, sooner or later he would lose all confidence. So, he was just envious. There weren't many emotions like jealousy. As for confidence, he definitely couldn't lose it. If he lost his confidence, it would be terrible. Once his confidence was gone, his life would be over. In short, he couldn't compare with the top, but he was more than enough to compare with the bottom. There was no need to compare with these two monsters. From this point, it could be seen that Yi Tian's temperament was indeed not bad. Old Qin, I have also broken through, where are you? Come out and spar with me. Madman was in high spirits. Right now, he didn't put anyone in his eyes. Even the true genius disciples of Demon Hall, Blood Hall, Deity Hall, and Sky Hall, he didn't care about them, except for Qin Feiyang. In his eyes, among the younger generation, only Qin Feiyang was worthy of being his brother and opponent. However, facing Madman's clamor, Qin Feiyang didn't want to pay attention to him at all. So what if he broke through? What was there to be proud of? It was as if no one had broken through before. Boring. Madman put away the law of slaughter and glanced below. His gaze suddenly fell on Yi Tian as he chuckled. You actually stayed in the Black Tortoise world? Can't I? Yi Tian pursed his lips. Sure. But cultivating every day is boring. Come, let's spar and add some spice to our lives. Madman laughed and the law of slaughter suddenly emerged as he charged towards Yi Tian. Spar with you? Are you stupid or am I stupid? Yi Tian rolled his eyes and directly turned to enter the wooden building. Hey, didn't you ask old Qin to tell me to spar with you? Now I'm looking for you, but you don't agree. What's the meaning of this? Madman's expression stiffened as he hurriedly shouted. Yi Tian, who had just entered the wooden building, paused his footsteps. After pondering for a while, he turned and walked into the courtyard. That's true, we should end this. Great. Madman laughed. Before they even started, his fighting spirit was already boiling as he said, here or somewhere else? Yi Tian glanced at the Devil's Land, thought for a while, and said, let's go somewhere else. Okay. Then let's go to the western region. There's no one there. Even if you lose, it won't be a shame. Madman laughed and looked at the ancient castle below as he shouted, Old Qin, come out and send us to the western region. Qin Feiyang strode out of the ancient castle and looked at Yi Tian from afar. With a wave of his hand, the two disappeared without a trace. He didn't follow. Yi Tian was also a person who cared about his face, so no matter if he won or lost, he didn't want others to know. Otherwise, he wouldn't have asked to go somewhere else. They want to fight one-on-one? At this time, the white-eyed wolf ran over with a jar of Xuanwu divine wine and asked. N. Qin Feiyang nodded. Then why are you still standing here? Let's go and take a look. The white-eyed wolf's face was full of excitement. What's there to see? Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes and frowned. I'm most worried about Xingde. Why hasn't he contacted me yet? Don't worry. 2,000 years in the black tortoise world is only 5 days outside. The white-eyed wolf drank a mouthful of the divine wine and waved his paws. That's true. Qin Feiyang nodded. He probably wouldn't be able to find anything in 5 days. Wait. The white-eyed wolf suddenly frowned, turned his head and looked at Qin Feiyang strangely, and asked, Have you established a contract with Xingde? No. Qin Feiyang shook his head. No, how do you want him to contact you? The white-eyed wolf was speechless. Qin Feiyang said, Although I don't, Yi Tian must have established a contract with him. If he can't contact me, he will naturally contact Yi Tian. Yes. Brother, how could I forget about this? The white-eyed wolf patted his head. I think you drank too much and your brain short-circuited. Qin Feiyang glared at him fiercely. All he knew was to drink Xuanwu divine wine. Fortunately, the 5-clawed golden dragon and the other drunkards were in seclusion to comprehend the profound laws. Otherwise, the Xuanwu divine wine that was brewed would not be enough for these guys to squander. About half an hour later, Yi Tian and Madman returned with many wounds on their bodies. Obviously, when they were sparring, Madman suppressed his cultivation. But after this battle, the relationship between the two seemed to have changed, because there was a trace of bright smile on their faces. Look at you two, you went to fight, and you actually developed feelings for each other? The white-eyed wolf looked at the two in astonishment. What do you know? Yi Tian and I appreciate each other and regret that we didn't meet earlier. Madman glanced at the white-eyed wolf with disdain. Appreciate each other? The white-eyed wolf rolled his eyes and sneered, I think it's more like you two are birds of a feather. How about it? Who won? It's none of your business, don't ask. Madman waved his hand. Still want to keep it a secret? The white-eyed wolf was taken aback and looked at Yi Tian. Yi Tian did not answer and only smiled faintly. From the expression of the two, it was impossible to tell who won and who lost. However, whether it was Qin Feiyang or the white-eyed wolf, they both leaned towards Madman. That was because they all knew Madman and Yi Tian's strength very well. Especially Qin Feiyang, who had fought against Yi Tian before. So, in terms of winning rate, even if Madman had suppressed his cultivation, his chances of winning would still be greater. But there were always accidents. What if Yi Tian still had other tricks up his sleeve? After all, Yi Tian was not an ordinary person. So, the two did not say it personally, so it was hard to judge. However, from the smile on their faces, winning or losing was no longer important. Just as the ingrate had said, the two of them had gained a rare friendship through this competition. Chapter 3300. Just as Yi Tian was about to return to his courtyard, Qin Feiyang suddenly called out to him. What's wrong? Yi Tian turned around and looked at him in confusion. Can you help me contact Xingde and ask him where he is now? Qin Feiyang said. Yi Tian nodded and took out the divine voice stone. However, After activating the divine voice stone, Xingda still did not reply. What's going on? Yi Tian could not help but frown. Qin Feiyang, white-eyed wolf, and mad scientist looked at each other with a trace of suspicion in their eyes. Let me try again. Yi Tian looked at the two people and the wolf and said. He then sent a few more messages to Xingda, but the results were the same. This doesn't make sense. Every time I send a message to Xingda, he always replies immediately. Yi Tian's brows furrowed tightly. Suddenly, his expression changed. He raised his head and looked at Qin Feiyang and the ingrate. He asked in surprise, could it be that something happened to the criminal investigation unit? This, the two people and the wolf could not help but feel their hearts sink. If this was the Eastern continent, there would definitely be no accidents. However, this was the Western continent, the Blood Hall's territory. Once Xingda's whereabouts were exposed, he would definitely be hunted down by the Blood Hall. Yi Tian pondered for a while and looked at the two people and the wolf. Let's not scare ourselves first. He might have encountered some situation and is temporarily unable to reply to us. That's right. Xingda has the strength of a peak sovereign. Even if he encounters the Blood Hall's people, he will definitely be able to protect himself. Moreover, his contract bridge is still there. At least he is still alive. Mad scientist nodded. Then let's wait a little longer. Xingda was the person that Master trusted the most. Although Master would not blame him if something happened to Xingda, he would blame himself. Therefore, nothing must happen to him. Next, Qin Feiyang was no longer in the mood to cultivate. He left the Black Tortoise realm alone and stood at the peak of a mountain. He concealed his aura and looked at the 9-Dragon Mountain range from afar. Time passed day by day. On the 10th day, Qin Feiyang secretly asked Yi Tian. Yi Tian told him that he still could not contact Xingda. What's going on? Qin Feiyang could not help but feel irritated. Did Xing accidentally fall into the Blood Hall's hands? But that's not right. If Xing had really fallen into the Blood Hall's hands, then the Blood Hall would definitely try to contact him. They wouldn't be so quiet. That's right. These days, the 9-Dragon Mountain range was relatively quiet. Except for the disciples of the Blood Palace, none of the important figures of the Blood Palace showed up. Even the commander of the Dark Guards who had gone to Jinyuan City was nowhere to be seen. No. I have to return to Mad Bull Mountain to take a look. Evening. Qin Feiyang couldn't sit still anymore. He called Snowflake out and said in a deep voice, let's go to Mad Bull Mountain. Brother Qin, Chief Xing has sent a message back. But at this moment, Yi Tian's voice suddenly rang in his mind. Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned and quickly asked, did you tell him that we're in Maple Leaf Valley? Yes. He also knows the location of Maple Valley and is on his way. However, according to him, his current location is very far from Maple Valley and he will only arrive at Maple Valley in the early morning. Yi Tian said. So far? Qin Feiyang frowned and said, then send him a message now and ask him to give me the coordinates. I'll go pick him up. Okay. Yi Tian responded. After a while, he said he's waiting for you at 7 Tigers Mountain. And told Qin Feiyang the coordinates. Got it. Qin Feiyang secretly replied. He looked at Snowflake and said with a smile, I'm not going to Mad Bull Mountain. I'm going to 7 Tigers Mountain. 7 Tigers Mountain. This was a giant mountain that was tens of thousands of feet high. At the top of the giant mountain, there were 7 short peaks that were more than 100 feet high. Each of them was shaped like a giant tiger, so it was called 7 Tigers Mountain. On one of the peaks, a middle-aged man stood at the edge of the cliff. There was no aura around his body. Like a ghost, he blended into the night. This person was Chief Xing, who had been missing for 10 days. However, at this moment, there was a trace of excitement on his face. Suddenly, In the sky, a space-time passage silently appeared. Following closely, a white-clothed young man walked out. He was also like a ghost, and no aura could be felt from him. "Young master, I'm here." Chief Xing hurriedly waved his hand at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang lowered his head and saw that Chief Xing was unharmed. Only then did he let out a sigh of relief. Then, he took a step forward and landed in front of Chief Xing. He frowned and said, "What happened? I kept sending you messages, but you didn't reply." Chief Xing smiled embarrassedly and said in a low voice, "I threw the divine sound transmission stone into the spatial divine item, so I didn't notice." Spatial divine item? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Yes. Spatial divine items shouldn't be too rare for people at my level, right? Chief Xing smiled. That's true. Qin Feiyang nodded. It was normal for a perfection dominator to have a spatial divine item. Then, he asked doubtfully, "Then why did you throw the divine sound transmission stone into the spatial divine item?" "To tell you the truth, I was afraid that someone would send me messages," Chief Xing said. "Did something happen?" Qin Feiyang was surprised. Otherwise, why would he be afraid that someone would send him messages? "Yes. These days, I've been asking around a lot of things, such as Pei Wanli and Old Hai's 2 grandsons." Chief Xing nodded. "Hai Qingji, Hai Qingliang." Qin Feiyang smiled. "How did you know?" Chief Xing was stunned. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled bitterly. "We neglected the dragon subduing halberd. It's Old Hai's divine item, so it must know about the Blood Palace's situation." "Yes." Chief Xing smiled in astonishment. He really didn't think about the dragon subduing halberd. He then said, "Then, does it know where Pei Wanli and the others are now?" "We've discussed it and agreed that they're all in the Blood Palace. After all, the Blood Palace is currently the safest place for them." Qin Feiyang smiled. "Wrong." Chief Xing shook his head. "Wrong?" Qin Feiyang was stunned. "Yes." Chief Xing nodded and was about to explain. "Wait a moment. I'll get Senior Brother Frenzy and the White-Eyed Wolf to come out first so that you don't have to explain to them again later." After Qin Feiyang finished speaking, the Frenzy and the White-Eyed Wolf appeared out of thin air. "Little Frenzy, this aura of yours." Chief Xing looked at the Frenzy in shock. "Hee hee. Why don't we compete as well?" The Frenzy grinned. "Us?" Chief Xing shook his head speechlessly. What a battle maniac. He then said, "Your progress is getting more and more frightening. Even if there was a 1-day or 1,000 years time array, it shouldn't be so fast." Why was that? Indeed, the time array was just one aspect. For Qin Feiyang and the others, the gate of potential was their greatest reliance. After opening the gate of potential, their comprehension and potential would be countless times stronger than others. Naturally, their comprehension of laws would be faster than others. However, things like the potential pill couldn't be revealed for the time being. Because in terms of value, the potential pill was even more valuable than a sovereign weapon. Wait a minute. Qin Feiyang's expression suddenly froze. Elder Hua, Chu Yun, and the Devil Hall's Hall Master had traveled the entire Black Tortoise world and learned about his past. Then, they should know about the existence of the potential pill, right? Because in the Black Tortoise world, the potential pill wasn't a secret. There were many such pills in the divine treasury. And in the past few years, many people in the Black Tortoise world had obtained the potential pill from the divine treasury. Therefore, Elder Hua and the others should know about it by now. But why didn't they mention it to him? Logically speaking, when they found out that the Black Tortoise world had pills that could open the gate of potential, they should immediately associate it with the alchemy scripture and raise their doubts to Qin Feiyang. But why didn't they say anything? No. This matter needs to be investigated. Qin Feiyang immediately ordered Pai Lupi and Theta Wang to investigate this matter. If Elder Hua and the others had really inquired about the potential pill in the Black Tortoise world, then with Pai Lupi and Theta Wang's status and influence in the Black Tortoise world, it would be easy for them to find out. Young master, what's wrong? Xingda looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. When the white-eyed wolf and madman heard this, they also looked at Qin Feiyang. As expected, their complexion wasn't good. It's nothing. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and smiled. Speak. Logically speaking, the Blood Hall is indeed the safest place, but for Pei Wanli and the others, it's also the most dangerous place. Xingda said. The most dangerous place? The two people and one wolf looked at each other with suspicion in their eyes. That's right. Think about it, when we came to the Western continent, what was our goal? Xingda asked. It's definitely the Blood Hall. The white-eyed wolf said without hiding anything. As soon as he finished speaking, the two people and one wolf revealed a look of realization. So that's the case. That's right. Their goal was the Blood Hall. If they brought the sovereign divine weapon and directly charged into the Blood Hall, it would definitely be a bloodbath. If Pei Wanli and the others stayed in the Blood Hall, it would naturally be dangerous. Therefore, although the Blood Hall seemed safe, it was actually the most dangerous place. Actually, at the beginning, I didn't think of this point and thought that they were all in the Blood Hall. However, when I found Wang Dafu and heard his analysis, I suddenly realized something. A rare trace of a smile appeared on Xingda's face. Wang Dafu. Qin Feiyang was stunned. Who was this? Oh right, I haven't told you. This Wang Dafu is a member of our Rogue Cultivator Alliance. However, he has been hiding in the Western continent to investigate the Blood Hall. Xingda said. I see. Qin Feiyang was enlightened. Don't underestimate this Wang Dafu. He's very strong. He's a great perfection sovereign. However, he usually keeps a low profile, so the people in the Blood Hall didn't pay much attention to him. Moreover, he seems to be very loyal to the Blood Hall on the surface. He even has a good relationship with Old Hai. Xingda laughed. He's that powerful? Qin Feiyang, Xingda, and the white-eyed wolf were stunned. A spy of the Rogue Cultivator Alliance actually had a good relationship with Old Hai? This method was really extraordinary. At the same time, all the spies of our Rogue Cultivator Alliance in the Western continent are under Wang Dafu's command. In short, he's the leader here. Everyone under him has to listen to him. This Wang Dafu has another identity that you probably wouldn't even dream of. Even in our Rogue Cultivator Alliance, only Xingda, and I know about it. Xingda said. So mysterious. What's his identity? The two people and the wolf looked at him curiously. Chapter 3301. Xingda looked at Qin Feiyang and said, he's your master's sworn brother, which means he's your martial uncle. This, Qin Feiyang was stunned. He was actually his master's sworn brother. That was indeed amazing. Wait a minute. Since Wang Dafu is Old Ye's sworn brother, doesn't that mean he also knows about Old Ye's rebellion? If he knows, then is he colluding with the Blood Hall? Madman suddenly asked. Wang Dafu indeed knows. However, Lord Vice Alliance leader held back. In the past, although Lord Vice Alliance leader cooperated with the Blood Hall, Lord Vice Alliance leader didn't really trust the Blood Hall. Thus, Lord Vice Alliance leader never mentioned his relationship with Wang Dafu to the Blood Hall. Lord Vice Alliance leader and Wang Dafu became sworn brothers when they were young. Wang Dafu wasn't a member of the Rogue Cultivator Alliance in the past and didn't appear in the Rogue Cultivator Alliance afterward. Thus, those who aren't familiar with them wouldn't be able to verify their relationship. Xingda said. I see. Qin Feiyang nodded in realization. Therefore, you guys don't have to worry about Wang Dafu. He's someone you can absolutely trust. Lord Vice Alliance leader has already sent him a message, telling him about our situation. He also expressed that he will support us unconditionally. Xingde said. That's good. The 2 men and 1 wolf heaved a sigh of relief. After we found Wang Dafu, after a discussion, he directly made a bold guess. Pei Wanli and the others might not be in the blood hall. Because our target is our target, the outside world will become the safest place. Therefore, these people are most likely hiding in a remote place. Thus, Wang Dafu got his subordinates to investigate. At the same time, we were afraid that the spies of the Rogue Cultivator Alliance might not be enough. Thus, we contacted Dong Xiaoyun, and the 2 of us joined forces to conduct a secret investigation in the Western Land. Xingde said. Who is Dong Xiaoyun? Madman was doubtful. Dong Xiaoyun is from the Demon Hall. Like Wang Dafu, he's in charge here. Xingde explained. I see. I didn't expect the Rogue Cultivator Alliance and the Demon Hall to actually join forces. Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly. Isn't this all because of you guys? Otherwise, how could there be such a harmonious scene now? Similarly, we also have to thank Dong Xiaoyun because the Devil Hall's influence here is much greater than our Rogue Cultivator Alliances. Xing Dao. Qin Feiyang nodded and asked, and then? Pei Wanli and the others are really well hidden. After searching for 2 or 3 days, I couldn't find any trace of them at all. Even I want to give up. After that, Wang Dafu, Dong Xiaoyun, and I got together and discussed it. Wang Dafu suggested that we should just stop searching and wait. As Boss Xing spoke, there was a hint of admiration in his eyes. It seemed that Wang Dafu's suggestion was very wise. How? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. Have all of our subordinates enter the various towns and cities to keep watch. Even if it's an unknown town, we can't let it go. Because Wang Dafu suggested that it was impossible for a playboy like Pei Wanli to hide forever. He would soon lose his patience and run out of town to seek pleasure. As expected, on the night of the 4th day, someone reported that they saw Pei Wanli, Hai Qingji, and Hai Qingliang in a small town. Boss Xing's eyes flickered. They're really outside. Qin Feiyang, Dong Xiaoyun, and the white-eyed wolf looked at each other in dismay. This Wang Dafu was truly an expert. Especially when it came to the characters of playboys, he was incomparably thorough. After that, our men followed Pei Wanli and the others and entered a large mountain. There were more than a dozen households there. Then, Wang Dafu, Dong Xiaoyun, and I personally went there and hid in the vicinity for several days. Finally, we confirmed their identities. Blood Hall's Hall Master, Old Hai, and the families of the great deacons were all there. Boss Xing laughed. They were all there? Qin Feiyang was stunned. That's right. Even the great deacon's widow was there. However, people like Pei Hongyu and Pei Dason were all perfection sovereigns and had many secret guards protecting them. Therefore, we didn't dare to act rashly. We first came back to report to you and ask you to make a decision. Boss Xing said. The heavens are really helping me. Bro, well done. Qin Feiyang patted Boss Xing's shoulder with a face full of joy. He originally thought that Boss Xing might have encountered a mishap, but he didn't expect him to bring back such great news. Brother? Boss Xing was stunned and quickly shook his head. You can't do that. I said you can do it, so you can do it. This is a great merit. When I return, I'll definitely tell Master and let him reward you handsomely. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and smiled. Blood Hall's Hall Master and the others were really cunning. They actually moved all their families out. However, it was proven that his men were still a step ahead. Qin Feiyang really wanted to meet this Wang Dafu. How could there be such a shrewd person? He was simply a divine foresight. Forget about the reward. I can be where I am today because of the Vice Alliance Master. Moreover, this is all thanks to Wang Dafu and Dong Xiaoyun. I'm just basking in their glory. Boss Xing shook his head. Where are Wang Dafu and Dong Xiaoyun now? I'm very interested in them. Qin Feiyang asked. What a coincidence. They're also interested in you and told me to tell you that no matter what, you have to make a trip to Rich's restaurant to meet them. Boss Xing, Rich's restaurant? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Rich's restaurant is the largest restaurant in the Western land. It can be found in all major cities, and the owner of Rich's restaurant is Wang Dafu. Boss Xing smiled. I see. Qin Feiyang nodded. Actually, it was Wang Dafu who took the initiative to contact me. Because there's a Rich's restaurant in Jinyuan City. At that time in Jinyuan City, the Wolf King fought with the two secret guards and exposed our identities. At that time, the house master of the Fugui Tower in Jinyuan City was among the crowd. He saw us with his own eyes and reported to Wang Dafu. Boss Xing, in other words, the owners of Rich's restaurant in all major cities are from our Rogue Cultivator Alliance? Qin Feiyang asked. Boss Xing nodded. Amazing. Alright, let's go to Rich's restaurant now. Give it the coordinates. Qin Feiyang pointed to Xue Xue who was at the side. What about Pei Wanli and the others? Boss Xing was doubtful. It won't take long. Besides, with the secret guards protecting them, I can't kill my way in directly. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Don't you have the slaughter domain and the ancient castle? Boss Xing asked. You still don't know the temper of a sovereign divine weapon? It's not something I can control. It will only act when the other party has a sovereign divine weapon. As for the slaughter domain, it hasn't been long since I activated the slaughter domain on White Crane Island. Although the blood of the Western land can allow me to activate it once more, we have to be prepared. What if something happens at that time? So, just in case, I have to gather enough blood to activate the slaughter domain twice before I can act without restraint. And it's best if it's before midnight. Because it can be activated before midnight, it can be activated again after midnight. In other words, it can be activated twice consecutively. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. In other words, you can only activate the slaughter domain once a day? Boss Xing asked. Qin Feiyang nodded his head. That's true. After all, the slaughter domain is too heaven-defying. If it can be activated at any time, wouldn't it be invincible? Boss Xing smiled bitterly. Even if it can be activated at any time, how can I find so much blood? You don't know how much blood is needed to activate the slaughter domain, especially during the battle with the sovereign divine weapon. If it weren't for the creatures of the Black Tortoise world who selflessly contributed their blood, I wouldn't have the chance to activate the slaughter domain. Therefore, I won't allow anyone to have any ideas about the Black Tortoise world, and I won't allow anyone to harm the creatures of the Black Tortoise world. They have helped me too much. Qin Feiyang sighed. Without the creatures of the Black Tortoise world, he wouldn't be who he was today. Whether it was humans or beasts, they had given him a new lease of life. It could be said that the kindness he owed them was something he couldn't repay in his lifetime. Therefore, he could only use his life to protect everyone. If someone insisted on killing them, they would have to step over his dead body first. Hearing these words, Boss Xing finally understood why so many people and ferocious beasts followed Qin Feiyang so wholeheartedly. There was no exploitation, no deception, only true feelings. Facing those who had helped him, he would think of ways to repay them. Heart to heart. Love to spread love. This was the way this kid handled things. Thinking back to the vice leader, he really made a wise decision this time. He decisively turned around and turned over a new leaf. Otherwise, where else could he find such a responsible disciple who also knew how to be grateful? Let's go. Qin Feiyang smiled. All right. Boss Xing nodded his head and told Snowflake the coordinates. Madman suddenly asked, Are these coordinates safe? These coordinates are absolutely safe. It leads to Wang Dafu's private cultivation room. For safety reasons, Wang Dafu told me to meet him in his private cultivation room if I wanted to find him. Boss Xing said. All right. Madman nodded his head. Snowflake opened the spacetime law and a passage appeared. Then, the group entered the spacetime passage without changing their appearance. Soon, they descended into a dark stone room. The stone room was sealed. There was only one stone door, and the stone door was also completely closed. However, this cultivation room was quite big. Just the hall in the center was 500 to 600 feet. There were exquisite tea tables and chairs. Behind the hall, there was a landscape painting. The strokes were bold and lifelike. Next to it, there were 4 rooms, half hidden. One of them was a cultivation room, another was a lounge, and there was also an alchemy room. Alchemy room? Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned. He asked, this Wang Dafu is also an alchemist? Not only an alchemist, but also a wine master. Xingde pointed at the last room. The stone door of that room was also tightly shut. He said, this is his private wine cellar. There's even a type of divine wine in there. When he brought me here, I even tasted it. Divine wine? The white-eyed wolf's eyes suddenly lit up. Be honest. Qin Feiyang stared at it, then glanced at the empty hall and asked, where is he? He should be busy in the restaurant. I will send him a message. Boss Xing took out the sound transmission god stone. Chapter 3302. After a while, the door of the training room opened. That's my little martial nephew. Accompanied by a heroic laugh, a middle-aged fatso wearing a purple robe strode in. He was not an ordinary fat man. His entire body was probably 250 pounds, and his height was only 1.7 meters. He had a big belly and was wearing gold and silver all over his body. This is the Wang Dafu you were talking about? The madman looked at the fat middle-aged fatso with a look of astonishment. Cough cough. Xingde coughed and said in a low voice, you can't judge a person by his appearance. The corner of the madman's mouth twitched. This broad waist, fat, he looked like a nouveau riche. No matter how you look at him, he did not look like a shrewd old fox. Qin Feiyang, White-Eyed Wolf, and Snowflake were also astonished. This was a completely different person from the Wang Dafu they had imagined. Wang Dafu glanced at them and his gaze quickly fell on Qin Feiyang. He smiled and said, not bad, impressive appearance, a talented person, a dragon among men. Qin Feiyang laughed and cupped his hands, greetings, martial uncle. Wang Dafu waved his hand and said, we're family, no need to be so polite. If you don't mind, you can also call me Big Brother. Big Brother? Qin Feiyang's mouth twitched. He hurriedly smiled and said, of course not, we can't mess up the seniority. Wang Dafu smiled and waved his hand. The stone door of the training room closed. He then looked at the madman and said, you must be that little madman. What advice do you have? The madman laughed. Advice? Wang Dafu was slightly stunned. Looking at the madman's cynical smile, he laughed and said, interesting. Sit, don't be so formal, just treat this as your own home. The key point was, Qin Feiyang, the madman, White-Eyed Wolf, was he a formal person? Obviously not. Old Wang, I heard that you have divine wine in your wine cellar. White-Eyed Wolf approached Wang Dafu and chuckled. Ugh. Wang Dafu was astonished. He really wasn't polite at all. He immediately came up with the idea of drinking his divine brew. No matter what, you are still a martial uncle. Don't make us look down on you. In other words, if you don't take out a few dozen jars of divine wine to entertain them, you'll be letting down your seniority. Do people at the level of martial uncle have to be looked up to? Wang Dafu looked at it in confusion. The White-Eyed Wolf was stunned. He had actually been checkmated. This fatso was interesting. The meaning behind his words was obvious. So what if he looked down on me? Do you think I care? It was a little shameless. Just kidding, just kidding. No matter what, people of the older generation like me have to pretend to be virtuous and prestigious in front of you juniors, right? Just you wait. Wang Dafu laughed and walked towards the wine cellar. Pretend to be virtuous and prestigious? Qin Feiyang, Frenzy, and the white-eyed wolf looked at each other, extremely speechless. This martial uncle's personality was a little too arrogant. However, there was one thing that was quite to their liking. He didn't put on airs and didn't put on airs. It was clearly the first time they met, but there was no sense of unfamiliarity. It was probably because of his personality that he could do well in the Western continent. In short, their first impression was very good. After a while, Wang Dafu walked out with a wine jar. The wine jar was the size of a bucket and was covered with a thick layer of dust. From the surface, it looked like an old antique that had been covered in dust for many years. It was completely unremarkable. However, the white-eyed wolf's eyes were glowing with green light, and his saliva was flowing out. Since Wang Dafu was carrying it out, it must be a divine brew. Brother, come and help. The white-eyed wolf immediately ran up and snatched the wine jar from Wang Dafu's hand before he could react. Drunkard. Wang Dafu was stunned and slowly spat out these two words. He sat in front of the chair and looked at Qin Feiyang, Frenzy, and Xingde. What are you still standing there for? Sit, we're family, don't be so polite. The three of them looked at each other and smiled. They walked over and each sat on a chair. The white-eyed wolf hugged the wine jar and placed it on the coffee table. He blew at the wine jar, and the dust immediately flew all over the room. Hey, can you be more refined? Frenzy looked at him with dissatisfaction. Refined? Let's see if you can still be refined when you open this wine jar. The white-eyed wolf rolled his eyes at Frenzy and opened the lid. A rich wine aroma immediately rushed out. Along with the wine aroma, a translucent dragon rushed out. Wine turned into a dragon. The white-eyed wolf's eyes lit up. Frenzy's eyes also lit up. It was indeed a divine brew. See, you can't stay calm anymore. The white-eyed wolf glanced at Frenzy and chuckled. You talk too much. Frenzy glared at him and leaned forward to smell it. His face immediately showed an intoxicated expression. Although the wine is good, you can't drink too much. Wang Dafu was half lying on the chair. His fat head and big ears looked like a Maitreya Buddha, but when he saw Qin Feiyang, he was slightly stunned. He didn't have any reaction at all after seeing the divine brew. Xingde said, I forgot to tell you that your martial nephew is completely uninterested in wine. There's a young man who isn't interested in wine. Wang Dafu was slightly taken aback. He looked at Qin Feiyang as if he was looking at a monster. That's my nature. I've embarrassed myself in front of Uncle Master. Qin Feiyang smiled. No. I heard that you and little Tian get along very well. I was a little confused at first, but now it seems that you two have the same personality. Wang Dafu smiled. Little Tian was naturally referring to Yi Tian. Qin Feiyang said, Big brother Yi is also in the Black Tortoise world now. If Martial Uncle wants to see him, I can ask him to come out. Forget it. I heard from Big Brother that little Tian went to the Black Tortoise world to cultivate, so I won't disturb him. Wang Dafu waved his hand. The big brother he was talking about was naturally the Vice Alliance leader. Qin Feiyang nodded. While the two of them were talking, Frenzy and the white-eyed wolf had already started drinking. The entire room was filled with the fragrance of wine. This Frenzy was still an alcoholic after all. It's good to be young. Looking at the man and wolf fighting over the wine, Wang Dafu shook his head and smiled. There was a hint of emotion on his face. Everyone has a time when they are young. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. Yes. Back then, your master and I were like them, fighting over everything we saw. But even if we fought until our heads bled, it didn't affect our relationship at all. In the blink of an eye, you young people have all grown up, and we have also grown old. Time really flies. Wang Dafu said with a smile. We grew up because of your protection. Let's not talk about anything else. We will continue to pass on your spirit. Qin Feiyang smiled. Spirit? Forget it. Your master and I have already made a big mistake. Don't take us as an example. But you really make me admire you. The Blood Hall has schemed against you time and time again, but in the end, they failed and suffered losses in your hands time and time again. They even lost a sovereign divine weapon and the Blood Hall's great deacon. To be honest, when I learned about these things, I didn't believe it. How can a young man like you have such ability? But now that I look at it, I have to admit that the new generation excels the old. Wang Dafu shook his head with a smile and asked, what's your next plan? Of course it's to capture Pei Wanli and the others. Qin Feiyang said without hesitation. Wang Dafu pondered for a while and nodded. These people are the family members of the Blood Hall's big shots. Capturing them can indeed make the Blood Hall hesitate, but, at this point, Wang Dafu frowned. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed slightly, and he said with a smile, Martial uncle, it's fine. I know very well that the big shots of the Blood Hall are all vicious and merciless people. Especially the Blood Hall's Hall Master and Old High. If you really push them too far, they may not care about the lives of these people. So, you must know your limits and don't cross their bottom line. Otherwise, it will only be counterproductive. At that time, it will be even more disadvantageous for you. Wang Dafu warned. Know my limits, Qin Feiyang murmured. It was not difficult to understand what he meant. These people were indeed very good bargaining chips, but no matter how good a bargaining chip was, there was a limit to its value. For example, an item that cost 1 yuan could only be exchanged for 1 yuan. If you took something that cost 1 yuan and ran to the other party to exchange it for 2 yuan, the other party would definitely not agree. Although people and money could not be compared, the principle was the same. Therefore, even if you captured these people, you could not make excessive demands in front of the Blood Hall. If you asked the big shots of the Blood Hall to exchange their lives for something, they would definitely not agree, and in the end, it would be a life and death struggle. I believe that you know your limits. Wang Dafu smiled and then said, as for the people you are looking for, actually, I have been secretly helping to investigate these days. Qin Feiyang raised his head and looked at Wang Dafu, his eyes full of expectation. I'm sorry, I really did not find any clues about this matter. Also, the Alliance Master and the 2 divine beasts seem to have disappeared from the world. Wang Dafu shook his head. Qin Feiyang lowered his head in disappointment. After pondering for a moment, he asked, Martial uncle, do you think they are now imprisoned in the Blood Hall, or transferred to another place like Pei Wanli and the others? I have thought about it, but it is really difficult to judge this matter. Because the Alliance Master, the 2 divine beasts, and the people you are looking for are fundamentally different from Pei Wanli and the others. Pei Wanli and the others are their relatives. The Alliance Master and the 2 divine beasts are the opponents they want to subdue. As for the people you are looking for, they are the bargaining chips in their hands. It is possible that the Blood Hall Master will keep them by his side and watch over them personally. It is also possible that he will transfer them away. Let's not talk about other things for now. Even if they were transferred away, it would not be as easy to find them as Pei Wanli and the others. Pei Wanli and the others are impatient. They can come out and take a walk, so we can find a chance to find them. But the Alliance Master and the others can't. They are imprisoned and will never appear in front of people. Wang Dafu sighed. Chapter 3303. Qin Feiyang couldn't help but frown. Listening to Wang Dafu's analysis, it was really hard to judge. But now, it seemed that there was no need to waste time looking for them. As long as they captured Pei Wanli and the others, it wouldn't be too much to exchange for the Mermaid Emperor and the others. After all, even if the Alliance leader and the 2 divine beasts were included, there were only 5 people in total. After pondering for a while, Qin Feiyang glanced at the madman and the white-eyed wolf and said helplessly, "Looking at you guys, it seems that you don't want to leave. Then you guys can stay here first. Xingde and I will go to the place where Pei Wanli and the others are hiding." "Go, go." The madman waved his hand without looking back. Qin Feiyang's face darkened. He was really going to stay. Wang Dafu glanced at the man and the wolf, and his face twitched. Looking at the posture of these 2 guys, it seemed that they were planning to drink all the divine wine in his wine cellar. If it was someone else, they wouldn't even think about it. There was no other way. Who asked them to be on the same side? And they were juniors. Just take it as spilling some blood. Immediately, Wang Dafu looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, "Junior Marshal Nephew, do you need my help?" "No need. Your restaurant's business will be very good tonight. You can stay and entertain the guests. Moreover, we are just going to take a look at the situation. We might not take action." Qin Feiyang smiled. "All right. If there's anything you need, send me a message." Wang Dafu took out the sound transmission god stone. Qin Feiyang also took out the sound transmission god stone. After suggesting the contract bridge, he asked Xingde to send the coordinates to Snowflake. When Snowflake opened the space-time tunnel, the 2 walked in. Wang Dafu also got up. Looking at the madman and the white-eyed wolf, the corner of his mouth twitched, and he turned to leave. "Old Wang, can we enter the wine cellar?" the white-eyed wolf suddenly asked. Wang Dafu's body stiffened, and he turned his head to look at the madman and the white-eyed wolf kindly. He smiled and said, "Sure, just don't mess around." It was their first meeting, he couldn't be too stingy. Western continent, northern border. This place was near the northern continent. However, there was a forbidden area between the western and northern continents that no one dared to set foot in. This place was called the Death Glacier. It was said that the Death Glacier was not only bone-chillingly cold, but it also had a type of storm that even perfect sovereigns would be afraid of. Its destructive power was extremely strong, and it could easily destroy a heaven-defying divine artifact. In other words, in the Death Glacier, the most terrifying thing was not the ice and snow, but the storm. Not far from the Death Glacier, there was a majestic mountain range. Because there was still some distance from the Death Glacier, there was only a little snow here, and some vegetation could be seen. However, it was still very cold here. Especially at night, when gusts of cold wind blew, people couldn't help but shiver. In one of the canyons, more than a dozen small wooden buildings stood side by side. Although the roofs were covered with a layer of snow, from the marks on the door frames and walls, it was obvious that these small wooden buildings had been built not long ago. At this moment, the night was as dark as ink. Faint candlelight flickered in the dozen or so small wooden buildings, making them seem extremely quiet. Whoosh! And just 100 miles away from the canyon, there was a giant mountain that was about 1,000 feet tall. A space-time tunnel suddenly appeared at the peak of the mountain. Immediately after, 2 silhouettes and a heaven-defying divine artifact silently walked out. They were Qin Feiyang, Xingde, and Snowflake. "Young master, they are there." Xingde walked to the edge of the cliff, pointed at the canyon, and transmitted his voice. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, sending Snowflake into his chi ocean. Then, he walked to Xingde's side and lowered his head to look. A distance of 100 miles, to the current him, was completely unaffected. He could clearly see everything. In the canyon, other than the dozen or so wooden buildings, there wasn't even a shadow of a ghost. If it wasn't for the sound of the wind and the occasional beast roar from afar, this place would be completely silent. Why is it so cold? Qin Feiyang suspiciously looked around. This place is close to the Death Glacier. And the Death Glacier is the border between the western and northern continents. It is the same as the Devil Land between the eastern and southern continents. It is a forbidden area of the Sky Cloud realm. Xingde explained. Is it very dangerous? Qin Feiyang asked. Of course. Even if a Paragon Dominator enters the Death Glacier, there is a 90% chance of death. Xingde nodded. What? Qin Feiyang's expression froze. This was too terrifying. In short, none of the 4 forbidden areas is a good place. If you accidentally enter one in the future, you must be 120% vigilant. Xingde warned. For forbidden areas? Qin Feiyang was startled. He suspiciously asked, other than the Devil Land and the Death Glacier, what other forbidden areas are there? There is also the Heavy Region Land and the Land of Buried Gods. These 2 places are between the western and southern continents, and the eastern and northern continents. In short, the 4 forbidden areas are the borders of the 4 continents. Xingde said. Heavy Region Land, Land of Buried Gods. Qin Feiyang remembered these names. Since they were called the 4 forbidden areas of the Sky Cloud realm, they were definitely extraordinary. Perhaps, there was some great opportunity hidden within. Xingde looked at the dozen or so wooden buildings in the canyon and secretly asked, Young master, do you want to go closer and take a look? Sure. Qin Feiyang nodded. After pondering for a moment, he activated the concealment art and brought Xingde to fly toward the canyon. When they were about 10 miles away from the canyon, Xingde secretly said, We can't go any further. Qin Feiyang looked at him suspiciously. Look at the mountain peaks around the canyon. Xingde transmitted. Qin Feiyang swept his gaze. There were a few big trees on the mountain peaks, and their leaves were covered with snow. From afar, they looked like snow-white umbrellas. However, other than that, he didn't see anything else. You can't see anything on the surface, but in fact, under the snow under each big tree, there is a secret guard hiding. However, their bodies are buried in the soil and covered with snow. Hence, it's hard to find them. However, they are always paying attention to the surrounding movements. Moreover, there is a barrier above the canyon. This barrier was set up by the commander of the secret guards using the law of time. At the same time, he also set up a time array. Hence, even if they are here, they won't delay their cultivation. Xingde secretly said. Secret guards, barrier. Qin Feiyang swept his gaze across the mountain peaks around the canyon. There were at least 50 to 60 big trees, which meant that there were 56 secret guards here. How strong are these secret guards? Qin Feiyang secretly asked. The secret guards sent here are definitely existences at the Great Perfection Sovereign Realm. Xingde said. It can't be. The Blood Hall has so many Great Perfection Sovereign Realm experts. Qin Feiyang was surprised. Not many. Xingde shook his head and said, not to mention the Blood Hall, even our Rogue Cultivator Alliance has more than 1,000 Great Perfection Sovereign Realm experts. What? Our Rogue Cultivator Alliance has so many? Why didn't I know? Qin Feiyang was shocked. He had always thought that the Rogue Cultivator Alliance only had 2 Alliance Masters, the Hall Master of the Mortal Palace, and the 10 Great Elders. He didn't expect there to be more than 1,000 hidden Great Perfection Sovereign Realm experts. You don't know because these people rarely show themselves. Not to mention you. Even those who were born in the Alliance capital might not know of their existence. Xingde secretly said. Then where are they? Qin Feiyang asked. Some of them are training outside, and some are cultivating in the Saint Mountain. The Saint Mountain of our Rogue Cultivator Alliance is deeper in the Hall of Famers. No one can set foot there. Of course, the 2 Alliance Masters and the Hall of Famers are exceptions. Xingde said. I see. Qin Feiyang nodded and said, then how many Great Perfection Sovereign Realm experts are there in the Blood Hall? I'm not sure about that. Not to mention me, even the Vice Alliance Master doesn't know the exact number. After all, this is the Blood Hall's trump card. They definitely won't let others know. Not only the Blood Hall, but also the Demon Hall, Sacred Hall, and Divine Hall. Most of the experts are hidden. However, I heard from the Vice Alliance Master that the Blood Hall has at least 5 times more Great Perfection Sovereign Realm experts than our Rogue Cultivator Alliance. When the Vice Alliance Master cooperated with the Blood Hall revealed some information, but it wasn't very detailed. Xingde explained. Even if it's only 5 times, it's still incredible. Qin Feiyang was shocked. 5 times, that's 5 to 6,000. This number was really frightening. One had to know that the Black Tortoise Realm didn't even have a single Great Perfection Sovereign Realm expert. The strongest ones were him, Frenzy, and the White-Eyed Wolf. 2 lesser perfection sovereigns and 1 half-step sovereign realm expert. Without the Slaughter Domain and the Ancient Castle, they wouldn't be qualified to challenge the Blood Hall. Only now did he realize that he had underestimated the foundation of the Sky Cloud Realm. Any one of the major forces was enough to make people despair. You don't have to be too worried. Although there are many of them, they are basically ordinary perfect sovereigns. There are only a few people like the Blood Hall's Hall Master, Old High, the Secret Guard Commander, and the Grand Deacon who have grasped the strongest laws. Let alone the Supreme Profound. As far as I know, the 9 Great Deacons have mastered the Supreme Profound, but it's only the Supreme Profound of ordinary laws. Xingde said inwardly. I see. That's not too bad. Qin Feiyang heaved a sigh of relief. In short, in our Sky Cloud Realm, those who have comprehended the Supreme Profound are the true overlords. You have to pay special attention to these people. Xingde said. The Supreme Profound of ordinary laws is also very powerful. Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly. That's natural. But for young master, is this a problem? Xingde chuckled. Qin Feiyang was stunned. He looked at Xingde and transmitted his voice. Wait until the day I also master the Supreme Profound. Then, there will be no problem. As for now, I'm just relying on worldly possessions. There's nothing great about it. Xingde was stunned and shook his head. Worldly possessions are also a part of one's strength. However, this kind of humble attitude was pretty good. He wasn't arrogant or rash and knew his own shortcomings. Forget it. Worldly possessions are just worldly possessions in the end. One's own strength is true ability. Qin Feiyang waved his hand. He had to continue working hard. The Supreme Profound, speaking of which, what was the Karma Law's Profound? It seemed that when he had time in the future, he had to ask the Devil Hall Master for advice. Chapter 3304. Qin Feiyang observed for a while and said with a frown, It's late at night. I don't think they'll come out. I guess so. Xingde nodded. If they don't come out, we can only force our way in. Qin Feiyang pondered for a while. Suddenly, his expression became excited. He turned to look at Xingde and transmitted his voice, say, If I subdue these secret guards, will the Blood Hall's Hall Master be so angry that he will vomit blood? What? Subdue? Xingde looked at Qin Feiyang in shock. That's right. Subdue them and make them a sharp blade in your hand. Qin Feiyang nodded. Xingde was stunned. He raised his hand and touched Qin Feiyang's forehead. What are you doing? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. You don't have a fever. Why are you talking nonsense? Xingde mumbled. You're the one who has a fever. Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes. No, young master, you're too naive. These people are all Paragon sovereigns. How are you going to subdue them? Are you going to use the Slaughter Domain and the Ancient Castle to force them to submit? That's impossible. Even if you really force them to submit and control them, will you be able to rest assured if they follow you? You should know that these people are all loyal to the Blood Hall. Especially the secret guards. They're like death warriors. They're not afraid of death at all. If possible, they wouldn't hesitate to self-destruct. People like them must be subdued willingly. However, I don't think it's possible to make them follow you willingly. Xingde shook his head. Not necessarily. Qin Feiyang chuckled secretly. What do you mean? Xingde looked at Qin Feiyang in shock. Could it be that this kid really had a way to make these secret guards willingly serve him? Humans all have dreams and ambitions. Only if you have the ability to help them realize their dreams and fulfill their ambitions, then they will naturally be convinced by you. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Are you trying to bribe them? How? People like them have power and status. Money and wealth are meaningless to them. I can't think of anything else other than the sovereign's divine weapon, the ultimate profound meaning, and the ultimate law. But there are only a few sovereign weapons in the entire sky cloud realm. Supreme profound meanings and ultimate laws are also comprehended by oneself. As for ultimate profound meanings, don't even think about it. In the entire sky cloud realm, no one has comprehended ultimate profound meanings. So, I really don't know how you can make them submit to you willingly. Xingde thought to himself that this was just a fool's dream, something unrealistic. You don't know, do you? I have something that all living beings in the world desire. In fact, it's even more valuable than a sovereign weapon. Qin Feiyang smiled. More valuable than a sovereign weapon? All living beings want it? Boss Xing was stunned as he asked via voice transmission, is there such a thing in this world? He didn't believe that there was something more valuable than a sovereign weapon in this world. You'll know when the time is right. Qin Feiyang smiled mysteriously. All right. Boss Xing nodded. In any case, he didn't believe it. This young master was definitely bragging. But then again, how many people in this world would believe Qin Feiyang's words? No one. This was because they couldn't think of anything more valuable than a sovereign divine weapon. Qin Feiyang's heart also became active. The current Black Tortoise realm's strength was too weak. Other than him, the mad scientist, and the white-eyed wolf, the others were still trapped in the great perfection undead realm. How could such a force compete with the four great forces of the sky cloud realm? Although the Demon Palace and the Rogue Cultivator Alliance were his backers, they still didn't belong to him. Not only did he have to worry about using something that didn't belong to him, he also had to owe others a favor. Why bother? Moreover, his enemies, whether it was the ice dragon or the small beast, were not something the four great forces could compare to. In the future, there would be more cruel battles. Therefore, he must have something to rely on in his hands. If he nurtured them, it would be too slow. Especially in the sovereign realm, he had to rely on himself to comprehend the profound laws. No matter how many resources he had, if the other party's comprehension was not good, it would be useless. Therefore, recruiting soldiers and buying horses was undoubtedly the fastest shortcut. Not only did he not need to spend energy to nurture them, but he could also directly and effectively help him. The most important thing was, poaching people could also weaken the opponent's strength. For example, if these secret guards really ran away with him, then the Blood Palace's loss would be huge. The Blood Palace's overall strength would naturally be weakened. Not only could he pick up the ready-made ones, but he could also benefit himself at the expense of others. That's right. That's it. At that time, the Blood Palace wouldn't even have a place to cry. Young master, come in for a moment. Suddenly, Theta Wang's voice sounded in Qin Feiyang's mind. Qin Feiyang was stunned. He looked at Xingde and said, let's retreat. The two retreated back to the mountain peak. Then, Qin Feiyang looked at Xingde and said, you wait here. I'll go to the Black Tortoise world. Okay. Xingde nodded. Qin Feiyang's thought moved and instantly disappeared without a trace. Black Tortoise world. Somewhere in the Devil's Land. Pai Lupi and Theta Wang stood together, their brows furrowed. What's wrong? Qin Feiyang appeared in front of the two and asked suspiciously. We've investigated the matter you asked us to investigate. Elder Hua had indeed inquired about the potential pill in the Black Tortoise world. He also knew a lot about it. Pai Lupi said in a deep voice. Qin Feiyang's heart sank. He frowned and said, then why didn't he mention it to us face to face? This is also what we can't figure out. Even if the alchemy scripture in your hand isn't the first volume of the alchemy scripture passed down in the sky cloud world, Elder Hua should be able to associate it with the potential pill. But why did he pretend that he didn't know anything in front of us? Lord Sovereign, you can't be careless about this matter. Pai Lupi and Theta Wang warned. I know. Qin Feiyang nodded. He pondered for a while and said, I have an idea. You can express your opinions. I want to recruit people outside. Recruit people? The two were stunned. That's right. Let's start from the Blood Hall. There are many perfect sovereigns in the Blood Hall, Qin Feiyang explained briefly. This is a good thing. But didn't you find it troublesome in the past? Just like last time in the Nether King's Hell. We heard from Madman that when you were outside the Divine Devil Forest, the ancestral dragons gathered millions of people to kill you. At that time, someone seemed to have advised you to subdue those people, but in the end, you didn't do so. Pai Lupi and Theta Wang looked at Qin Feiyang in confusion. That's different. Those people, the strongest is only at the Nine Heavens realm. What can they do? To subdue them, I have to spend energy and resources to nurture them. But the Blood Hall's secret guards are different. They are perfect sovereigns and have reached the peak of the sky cloud world. I don't need to spend energy and resources on them. Qin Feiyang smiled. Now that you mention it, Pai Lupi thought for a while and smiled at Theta Wang. That's right. Theta Wang nodded and looked at Qin Feiyang. He smiled and said, Lord, we don't dare to ask what you want to do. However, no matter what you do, we will support you from behind. Pai Lupi nodded. Qin Feiyang patted their shoulders and smiled. He then asked, by the way, is Yuqing well behaved? Quite well behaved. At most, she will stroll around the courtyard. She has never left the Devil's Land. Pai Lupi nodded. Continue to keep an eye on her. In any case, we must not let her know about the Black Tortoise world. Qin Feiyang said. Understood. The two nodded respectfully. Then go and do your work. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and smiled. The two looked at each other and turned to leave. The longer they stayed with Qin Feiyang, the more they felt that meeting Qin Feiyang in this life was their greatest fortune. Otherwise, they would still be inconspicuous guards in the city lord's mansion. Qin Feiyang stood alone in the medicinal field with his head lowered. What was Elder Hua trying to do? Wasn't he curious at all? Boom! Suddenly, a terrifying aura exploded in Zhongzhou. Qin Feiyang was startled. He raised his head and looked in the direction of the aura. Was this the aura of a half-step sovereign? Whoosh! He took a step forward and appeared in the sky above Zhongzhou. He raised his head and saw a giant 100,000 feet tall standing in front of him. He was like an ancient god of war, emitting a strong sense of oppression. Wang Ming. When he saw the giant's face, Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned. Young master. Wang Ming also saw Qin Feiyang. He scratched his head and smiled at Qin Feiyang. You are, Qin Feiyang looked at him in surprise. Yes. I have already comprehended the fifth profound of the law of force. My cultivation has also broken through. Because his body was too big, Wang Ming's voice was as deafening as thunder. Good news. Qin Feiyang was overjoyed. Finally, another person had stepped into the sovereign realm. Wang Ming smiled foolishly. His body quickly shrank and returned to normal. Then, he looked at Qin Feiyang and shook his head. Compared to you, I'm still far behind. Don't compare yourself to others. Be yourself and relax. That way, you will improve faster. Qin Feiyang looked at him unhappily. Okay. Wang Ming nodded. Where's Yang Li? Qin Feiyang asked. Wang Ming said, he's not with me. I came out alone. But he should be here soon. Qin Feiyang smiled. I hope you can all break through to the great perfection sovereign realm soon. We've been a burden to you. Wang Ming lowered his head, his face full of guilt. Don't say that. You have to believe in yourself. Besides, you are all people who have unlocked the door of potential. You have to be more confident than others. Qin Feiyang said. Yes. Wang Ming raised his head, puffed out his chest, and stood at attention. Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed. Then, continue to work hard. Don't worry, I won't let you down. Wang Ming patted his chest. For them, young master had thickened his skin and left the demon hall's hall master and the others in the black tortoise world to explain the mysteries of the laws to them. If they didn't work hard, would they be worthy of young master's efforts? Therefore, whether it was Wang Ming, Yang Li, the others, the five-clawed golden dragon, the blood Qilin, or the other ferocious beasts, they all secretly swore not to be a burden to Qin Feiyang. Chapter 3305. Leaving Wang Ming alone in Zhongzhou, Qin Feiyang entered the western region and released his senses to survey the entire Blood Sea. A day outside was equivalent to 1,000 years in the Black Tortoise world. Every day, countless creatures would come to the western region to donate blood. It felt like donating blood had become a custom in the Black Tortoise world. Therefore, although not much time had passed outside, the Blood Sea had accumulated a lot of blood over the years in the Black Tortoise world. However, this amount of blood was far from enough to activate the killing zone twice. It would probably take a few more years. Of course. This few years referred to the time outside. For a sovereign, a few years was nothing more than the snap of a finger. But for Qin Feiyang, it was too long. He wanted to make a move now. Because he really couldn't bear to see the Mermaid Emperor and White-Winged Emperor continue to suffer in the Blood Hall. A long night was fraught with problems, he might as well make a move. He had to end the battle quickly and not give the Blood Hall a chance to react. He had to capture Pei Wanli and the others first. As for negotiating with the Blood Hall master, he could take his time. After all, as long as he had a bargaining chip in hand, he didn't have to worry about the Mermaid Emperor and the others' safety for the time being. Thinking of this, boom. Sure enough, Qin Feiyang activated the killing zone. The blood in the Blood Sea immediately turned into a torrent and rushed towards the slaughter zone. From afar, the void around Qin Feiyang was drowned in blood. He was like a killing god bathed in blood, and his terrifying murderous aura shook the surroundings. Look, the blood in the Blood Sea is disappearing rapidly. And this murderous aura, this is the sovereign's murderous aura, he must be activating the killing zone again. He must need more blood, the sovereign is in trouble. Let's go back and organize everyone to donate blood. These were the creatures of the Black Tortoise world. As soon as they sensed the aura of the killing zone, they knew what Qin Feiyang needed, and spontaneously organized everyone to donate blood. Faced with such a group of cute creatures, how could Qin Feiyang not protect them well? Not to mention Qin Feiyang, even a cold-blooded and heartless rock would be moved. Outside, Xingde squatted at the peak of the mountain, silently monitoring the canyon. In fact, he was also wondering how he could break the barrier set up by the Dark Guard commander without anyone noticing and kidnap Pei Wanli and the others. However, he really couldn't think of a way. That was because the Dark Guard commander's barrier was condensed from the laws of time. In order to break this barrier, one had to possess an ultimate law. However, although Xingda's cultivation had reached the perfection sovereign realm, he had not grasped an ultimate law. Therefore, it was impossible for him to break the barrier. Taking a step back, even if he could break the barrier, he wouldn't be able to face the 50 to 60 secret guards hidden at the peak of the canyon. These people were all Paragon sovereigns. None of them were weaker than him. In short, in his opinion, this canyon was an impenetrable cage. I'm so useless. If I also had a supreme profound, I wouldn't even need to worry about a few dozen dark guards. Big Xing sighed inwardly. The Vice Alliance leader's order was for him to protect Qin Feiyang, but looking at the current situation, it was Qin Feiyang who had to protect him. At the same time, in the canyon, in one of the wooden buildings, the three young men were sitting in the hall, drinking wine and chatting. The three of them were dressed in gorgeous purple robes. Their figures were tall and their auras were outstanding. However, their faces were filled with arrogance. Moreover, it was the kind of arrogance that was condescending and looked down on everything. If Qin Feiyang was here, he would definitely recognize that the purple-clothed young man sitting on the main seat was the grandson of the Blood Hall's hall master, Pei Wanli. Brother Pei, how long do you think we have to hide here? It's so boring every day. The other two young men looked at Pei Wanli and said with annoyance. These two were old Hai's grandsons, Hai Qingliang and Hai Qingji. I don't want to stay in this damn place either, but what can we do? Qin Feiyang has already come to the western land. If we don't hide, we'll definitely become his target. Besides, didn't we just go out? Pei Wanli smiled. Is it that small town nearby? Is that a place for people to stay? I wanted to find a woman to have fun with, but when I went there, all I found were old women. Alright, since there's no woman, we can drink for fun. But look, what kind of rubbish is this wine we bought? It's as disgusting as horse piss. Hai Qingliang and Hai Qingji shook the wine glasses in their hands, their faces full of disdain. Don't be greedy. At times like this, we should be satisfied with just a sip of wine. Don't worry, Grandpa and the others are already thinking of ways to deal with Qin Feiyang, right? As long as Qin Feiyang is dead, he can play with any woman he wants. Pei Wanli chuckled. I hope it's soon. These days are too fucking sullen. Hai Qingliang held the wine glass, raised his head, and drank it. Hai Qingji also took a sip of wine angrily. Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something. He looked at Pei Wanli and said, Brother Pei, last time I heard you say that Qin Feiyang's woman is very beautiful. Pei Wanli was slightly stunned, and a trace of possessiveness climbed up in his eyes. He nodded and said, She's not beautiful, she's simply an enchantress. Is it that exaggerated? The brothers were surprised. Let me tell you, it's not exaggerated at all. You all know me, women are just playthings in my eyes. In this life, I've played with women, if not 1,000, at least 800, and all of them are extraordinary, but none of them can be compared to that woman. A head of golden wavy hair, a figure comparable to a devil's, a face like an angel's, and that skin, let me tell you, you can't find any flaws on her body. She's simply a peerless beauty. The more Pei Wanli spoke, the more excited he became. In the end, he couldn't help but become excited. No way. The brothers looked at each other. You still don't believe me? Wait, I'll let you see it with your own eyes. Pei Wanli waved his hand, and a graceful figure suddenly emerged. It was the appearance of the mermaid princess when she was wearing a wedding dress. Hai Qingji and Hai Qingji were immediately stunned. This was too beautiful. There was actually such a peerless beauty in this world. She was simply a masterpiece of the heavens, and there was nothing to be picky about. They even couldn't help but feel their blood boiling. Hai Qingliang swallowed his saliva and looked at Pei Wanli. Brother Pei, such a beauty, you actually didn't get her? What do you know? I was about to get her. But halfway through, an old man appeared, and the duck in my mouth flew away just like that. Pei Wanli was annoyed. Which old man dares to ruin Brother Pei's plans? Tell us, and we'll kill him. The brothers said angrily. You guys? Forget it. Not to mention you guys, even your grandfather might not be able to kill him. He's Demon Palace's Elder Hua. Pei Wanli shook his head. Elder Hua. The brothers froze. So it was this old man, then they really didn't have the guts. But don't worry, this Qin Feiyang will die in my grandfather's hands sooner or later. When that time comes, this woman will fall into my hands. When I'm tired of playing with her, I'll let you guys have some fun. Pei Wanli chuckled. As expected of a good brother, no matter what good things happen, you won't forget about us. I can't help but look forward to seeing this beauty panting under us. Hai Qingji and Hai Qingliang laughed sinisterly. Clang. Just as the three of them were fantasizing, a loud sound came from outside. It was like a divine sword being unsheathed, resounding in all directions. Immediately after, a monstrous murderous aura instantly flooded the entire canyon. The three of them had a change of expression as they quickly got up and ran out. At the same time, at the peak of the mountain, faced with this killing intent that suddenly appeared, Xingde was also shocked. He hurriedly turned around and saw Qin Feiyang standing behind him. Fresh blood was surging within the killing zone. The blood-colored longsword in Qin Feiyang's hand was like a death god, emitting a soul-stirring baleful aura. Young master, what are you doing? Xingde was shocked. Didn't they say that they wouldn't make a move for the time being? Indecisiveness will only lead to trouble. Follow me closely. Qin Feiyang took a step forward and landed directly in the air above the canyon. Indecisiveness will only lead to trouble, fast enough. Xingde muttered and quickly rushed to Qin Feiyang's side. Boom! At the same time, snow flew up from the peak of the canyon. Under those gigantic trees, powerful auras burst forth one after another, causing the void and the ground to tremble. Immediately after, black figures rushed out from the snow and soared into the sky like lightning, surrounding Qin Feiyang and Hai Qingliang. These people were all wearing black robes, and their faces couldn't be seen clearly. They were like ghosts in the night. They came out aggressively, but when they saw Qin Feiyang's face, their expressions changed drastically. They shouted, "It's Qin Feiyang, he activated the killing zone. Run and inform the commander." In the canyon below, not only Pei Wanli's group, but the others also felt the sudden murderous aura and ran out at the first moment. When they heard the Shadow Guard's words and looked at Qin Feiyang, their expressions changed drastically. Especially Pei Wanli. He stared at Qin Feiyang standing in the killing zone, his eyes filled with fear. Although he didn't have much interaction with Qin Feiyang in the sky cloud realm, he had seen Qin Feiyang activate the killing zone in the space-time tunnel. Even old Hai would have the power to fight him. We hid so well, how did he find us? And from the looks of it, he came prepared. Could it be that someone tipped him off? The canyon was in chaos. Whether it was the elders like Pei Dason or the juniors like Pei Wanli, their faces were filled with fear. Their trembling eyes were as if they had seen a devil. Run! Looking at the group of people who were scared silly, a group of shadow guards roared hysterically. At the same time, they activated their laws and attacked Qin Feiyang. Although they knew they weren't Qin Feiyang's opponent, they could only brace themselves. Because they were shadow guards, their responsibility was to protect Pei Wanli and the others. If these people died or fell into Qin Feiyang's hands, then even if they survived, the two palace masters above wouldn't let them off easily. Chapter 3306. A roar finally woke everyone up. Let's go! Pei Dason shouted. He was about 1.8 meters tall, his figure was quite thin, and there was a bit of a sinister aura between his brows. But at this moment, there was only fear left. Qin Feiyang, who in the 4 continents of the sky cloud realm didn't know this name. Although his strength wasn't much, he had unparalleled talent. The most important thing was that he had a sovereign divine weapon and a slaughter zone comparable to a sovereign divine weapon. It could be said that if he went all out, no one in the Sky Cloud realm would be his opponent in a one-on-one situation. So, even if there was a barrier set up by the Dark Guard commander, it couldn't protect them. With Pei Daison's order, everyone immediately fled outside, not even daring to look back. Looking at Qin Feiyang again. He didn't say a word the whole time. But his eyes were as cold as the Grim Reaper. He looked at the group of dark guards who were rushing over and then looked at Pei Wanli and the others who were fleeing. The corner of his mouth curved into a mocking smile. If he didn't activate the slaughter zone, then he really couldn't do anything. But now, who could stop him? And activating the slaughter zone was to end the battle quickly. So that when the Dark Guard commander and the Blood Hall master received the news and came over with the sovereign divine weapon, there would be another bloody battle. One must know. Last time, he was able to destroy the dragon god's sword and kill the great deacon because of the Black Tortoise realm's origin power. And after that, the little brat specially reminded him that he couldn't consume any more origin power in a short period of time. So if a bloody battle really happened, the one who would die in the end would most likely be him. So, he couldn't delay. Clang! Accompanied by the sound of a sword, Qin Feiyang took a step forward and waved the blood-red long sword. Blood dragons formed by murderous aura roared out and went straight for the dozens of dark guards. Boom! Kacha! Without any suspense, all the profound laws couldn't withstand a single blow and shattered. Following closely, those blood dragons bared their fangs and pounced on the dozens of dark guards. Ah! A series of screams suddenly resounded. Dozens of dark guards flew out one after another, spitting out blood, their faces pale. In the blink of an eye, all of them were severely injured. Moreover, it was a serious injury that was on the brink of death. Xingda, cripple their cultivation. Qin Feiyang didn't pay any more attention to them. He didn't even turn his head as he gave the order. Then, he swung his sword down towards the canyon below. In the blink of an eye, none of the people in the canyon managed to escape. Rumble. As the sword chi fell, a barrier appeared in the void. However, like a piece of rotten wood, it disintegrated instantly. The terrifying aura and the sword chi turned into a raging tide that flooded the entire canyon. No! Roars of despair rang out one after another. People of the younger generation like Pei Wanli were instantly covered in cuts and bruises. As for Pei Daison and the other elders, although they were all sovereigns, they were also riddled with injuries. We'll hold them off. You guys run. Pei Daison roared. A group of elders stepped forward and attacked with all their strength. All sorts of laws and profundities shot towards the sword chi. They also didn't want to face Qin Feiyang directly. However, there was nothing they could do now. All the hidden guards were heavily injured, so they could only attack. However, facing such a powerful slaughter domain, was there any meaning to their actions? No. The sword chi enveloped all directions. Every wisp of sword chi carried an aura that could destroy heaven and earth. It entered their chi, sea and body. Everyone's body was riddled with holes and blood was gushing out. Father, grandfather, quickly come and save us. Whether it was Pei Daison or Pei Wanli, they were all crying out in despair. In just a blink of an eye, everyone's chi si was crippled. They were missing arms and legs, and their flesh was badly mutilated. This was still Qin Feiyang controlling the power of the blood-colored sword. Otherwise, the blood-colored sword's lethality at this moment would be enough to wipe them all out. Young master, it's done. On the other side, Xing Da's voice rang out. Dozens of hidden guards were all heavily injured. Moreover, a portion of the hidden guards had their chi seed directly shattered by the blood dragon. Hence, Xing Da's task wasn't very heavy and was easily resolved. I'll send them to the west region. You go there and watch over him. Whoever dares to cause trouble, kill without mercy. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and everyone disappeared in an instant. Immediately, Only Qin Feiyang was left in the sky above the mountains and rivers. He looked at the shattered mountains and rivers, handed over the snowflakes, and was about to leave. However, a flash of light suddenly flashed in his eyes. The Blood Hall Master shouldn't have arrived so quickly. Because these people didn't have time to send a message to the Blood Hall Master, so now, the only person who knew what had happened here was the Dark Guard Commander. Because the enchantment was set up by the Dark Guard Commander. The enchantment was broken, and the Dark Guard Commander could sense it immediately. And these days in the Maple Leaf Valley, he didn't see the Dark Guard Commander return to the Blood Hall, so the Dark Guard Commander must be outside. If nothing unexpected happened, when the Dark Guard Commander sensed that the enchantment was broken, he should come here alone to check the situation first. Even if he brought people, at most, he would bring a few hidden guards. Because the Dark Guard Commander wouldn't have thought that he would be able to find this place. In other words, as long as he waited here, he could still wait for this big fish, the Dark Guard Commander. Thinking of this, a cold light flashed in Qin Feiyang's eyes. If he didn't guess wrong, the person who secretly attacked him in the Wind Sea City should be this Dark Guard Commander. Since that was the case, then the new and old debts would be settled here. At that moment, under his control, the aura of the Slaughter Domain and the blood-colored long sword were restrained, and then he activated the concealment spell, so he just stood in the void motionlessly, waiting for the Dark Guard Commander to appear. Now he could activate the concealment spell twice a day. What he wanted to do was not to rely on the concealment spell to sneak attack, but to make the Dark Guard Commander appear without alertness. About 3 breaths. As expected, a black figure descended over the mountains and rivers, only half a mile away from Qin Feiyang. What's going on? It was the Dark Guard Commander. He looked down in surprise. Wait a minute. This murderous aura, although Qin Feiyang restrained the murderous aura of the Slaughter Domain and the blood-colored long sword, there was still the aura left in the void. When the Dark Guard Commander was hiding in the Star River of the Wind Sea City to watch the battle in the dark, he had already seen the Slaughter Domain, so he was very familiar with this murderous aura and could distinguish it at once. How is this possible? He actually found this place? His eyes were full of disbelief. He hurriedly took out the Divine Sound Stone and sent a message to the Blood Hall Master. He thought that Qin Feiyang had already left. However, before he could activate the Divine Sound Stone, a terrifying murderous aura suddenly erupted. The Dark Guard Commander immediately looked up and saw a young man in a blood-red robe in the void in front of him. Although Qin Feiyang was wearing a white robe, it had already turned blood-red under the soaking of blood at this moment. Qin Feiyang, the Dark Guard Commander's expression changed. Especially when he looked at the Slaughter Domain and the blood-colored long sword, there was a trace of fear in his eyes. I knew you would come, so I specially waited for you here. Qin Feiyang grinned like a devil. The Dark Guard Commander couldn't help but feel his scalp go numb. The Time Law rolled out and rushed toward Qin Feiyang, at the same time turning around to flee. With the appearance of the Time Law, this place suddenly entered a state of stillness. Obviously, this was the profound meaning of the Time Law, time stop. Clang. But, along with the appearance of a sharp light that could tear apart the heavens and the earth, the static state was immediately broken. The blood-colored sword in Qin Feiyang's hand also left his hand along with it, and like a graceful swan, it shattered the sky. No, accompanied by a roar, the blood-colored long sword sank into the Dark Guard Commander's back and pierced through his lower abdomen. Fresh blood spurted out like a fountain. His aura quickly dissipated. However, he was still running away. After all, his divine soul was still there. Humph. Qin Feiyang coldly snorted, and with a wave of his hand, the blood-colored long sword turned in the air and slashed toward the Dark Guard Commander with a monstrous edge. Qin Feiyang, you will die a horrible death. The Dark Guard Commander roared in despair. He really couldn't understand. Didn't they say that the slaughter domain needed a lot of blood? Last time in the heavenly cloud sea, this man had just opened the slaughter domain. How could he open it again now? Where did he get the blood from? Die a horrible death? You think too much. The one who is going to die now is you. Qin Feiyang coldly sneered, and the blood-colored long sword suddenly stopped above the Dark Guard commander's head. Wisps of sword chi appeared and directly tore the Dark Guard commander's skull and entered his sea of consciousness. Boom! With a loud bang, the Dark Guard commander's sea of consciousness was shattered on the spot, and his divine soul suffered a fatal injury. The reason why he kept the Dark Guard commander alive was of course for the white-eyed wolf. Because the Dark Guard commander mastered the law of time, for the white-eyed wolf, he was a very good prey. It's another night worth celebrating. Qin Feiyang glanced around, and a smile appeared on his face. After sending the Dark Guard commander to the western region and giving Xingde some instructions, he closed the slaughter domain and let Snow open a space-time tunnel, and disappeared into the night without looking back. Rich's restaurant. At this moment, it was very lively. Wang Dafu was also beaming with happiness, and was extremely busy. Below, underground. Inside the secret chamber. The white-eyed wolf and the madman were also drinking to their heart's content. There were more than a dozen wine jars on the ground beside them, and all of them were divine brews. The entire room was filled with the fragrance of wine. Such a good divine brew, but she's not interested at all. Little Qin Zi is getting more and more bored. I don't know if little Yu is blind or what. She actually likes him? The ingrate said with disdain as he hugged the wine jug and drank. To tell you the truth, I can't figure it out either. Look, in terms of talent, I'm not worse than him. In terms of handsomeness, I completely crush him. But why is he so popular with women? The madman was also drunk. What can't you figure it out? Those women are all blind. The white-eyed wolf hooked his arm around the madman's neck and laughed. That makes sense. The madman nodded. But you're not bad either. Look at our Xiao Xian, isn't she also infatuated with you? The white-eyed wolf said. Of course. My Xian heir is the most beautiful woman in the world. Even if you give me a sovereign divine weapon, I won't exchange it. The madman patted his chest and laughed proudly. I didn't know you were so infatuated. Suddenly, a voice sounded behind them. The man and the wolf were stunned for a moment. Then, they turned their heads to look with drunken eyes. They saw Qin Feiyang standing silently behind them. He chuckled and said, "When did you come back? Come, drink some. Get lost." Qin Feiyang's face darkened. Chapter 3307. He was fighting for his life outside, but these two bastards were drinking here. If it wasn't for their friendship, he would have kicked them. Okay, stop drinking. Qin Feiyang snatched the wine jars from their hands and said, I'll take you to see an old friend. Old friend? What old friend? Do we have an old friend in the sky cloud realm? The madman and the white-eyed wolf asked as they fought for the wine jars. You'll know when we get there. Qin Feiyang put down the wine jars and brought the man and the wolf to the sky above the Blood Sea. In the sky above the Blood Sea, more than 100 people were lying in the void. Some were missing arms and legs, and some were half-crippled. None of them were complete, and they were howling in grief. Xingde stood to the side and looked at these people coldly. Huh? When the madman and the ingrate saw this scene, a trace of bewilderment appeared on their faces. What kind of people were they? Look at him. Qin Feiyang glanced at the scene and pointed at a young man who was covered in blood. Only his face was intact, but it was also covered in blood. The madman and the white-eyed wolf looked at him, and the doubt in their eyes became stronger. They went forward and picked up the torn clothes on the young man's body and wiped the blood on his face. Ah! The man and the wolf were startled. Isn't this Pei Wanli? Then, aren't these the secret guards of the Blood Hall and the family members of the Blood Hall's big shots? Hee hee, as expected of an old friend. The madman grinned. The drunkenness of the man and the wolf instantly disappeared. The white-eyed wolf turned to look at Qin Feiyang and asked suspiciously, "Little Qin Zi, didn't you say you wouldn't do anything for the time being? What's going on?" "I changed my mind at the last minute." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. The white-eyed wolf said disdainfully, "I think you deliberately sent us away and went to show off by yourself. Do you think I won't kick you?" Qin Feiyang's face darkened. Show off by doing such a dangerous thing? What kind of logic was this? "Kid, we meet again." White-eyed wolf and madman looked down at Pei Wanli with smiles on their faces. Pei Wanli struggled to open his eyes and stared at the man and the wolf, his eyes full of hatred. "Still glaring?" The white-eyed wolf smacked Pei Wanli's face with its paw. Pei Wanli couldn't help but howl in pain. "Back in Great Qin, weren't you quite arrogant? Do you still remember what you said back then? Do you need me to remind you? Hey, 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 don't lie there like a dead dog. Get up and continue being arrogant. Hurry up. Otherwise, with my violent temper, you'll have to suffer." White-eyed wolf rubbed his fists. Even though so much time had passed, whenever he thought about how arrogant that person had been in Great Qin, he would feel quite displeased. "You're courting death, do you know that? My grandfather will never let you off." Pei Wanli roared. "You still dare to shout?" Madman's gaze turned cold as he stomped his foot on Pei Wanli's mouth. Pei Wanli's teeth were crushed and blood spurted out. "Bastard, I'm going to kill you." This anger and humiliation almost drove Pei Wanli crazy. How dare they stomp on him? As the grandson of the Blood Hall's hall master, when had he ever suffered such humiliation? "Kill us?" That's what you said when we tortured you in the space-time tunnel, right? But now, we're living better and better, and you've unfortunately fallen into our hands again. And this time, you didn't leave your soul in the Blood Hall, right? White-eyed wolf chuckled. Hearing this, Pei Wanli's pupils constricted. "There's no need to answer. Just by looking at your expression, I know that you really don't have a divine soul in the Blood Hall. That's not good. If we accidentally kill you, you'll really die." White-eyed wolf bared his teeth. "What are you doing?" Suddenly, a weak roar sounded. Qin Feiyang turned his head and saw that it was Pei Wanli's father, Pei Dason. Pei Dason roared, "Every injustice has its perpetrator and every debt has its debtor. If you have any dissatisfaction, you can go to my father. Why are you looking for us? Don't be too despicable." "You're saying we're despicable?" Madman and White-eyed Wolf couldn't hold it in any longer and went up to Pei Dason to punch and kick him. Who was it that threatened them with the lives of the Sword Emperor and the others? Who was it that schemed to harm them? It could even be said that they were unscrupulous. But now, they actually had the nerve to call them despicable? No matter what, they were still humans. Couldn't they be a little more shameless? Qin Feiyang didn't care. This person was looking for trouble. Only the officials were allowed to set fires, but the common people weren't allowed to light lamps. What kind of logic was that? "Since you're being unreasonable, I naturally don't need to reason with you. I'll just use my fists to solve it and beat you until you're convinced." However, this Pei Dason was also quite unyielding. No matter how they beat him, he wouldn't compromise. Madman and White-eyed Wolf were both tired and panting. "This is the first time I've seen someone with such a hard bone." Madman shook his hand. It hurt. No matter how hard his bone is, can it be harder than a heaven-defying divine artifact? "I have a good idea." White-eyed Wolf sneered. "What idea?" Madman was curious. Qin Feiyang also looked at White-eyed Wolf suspiciously. "Do you still remember how the fire bead was suppressed in the Soul Sealing Valley?" White-eyed Wolf laughed sinisterly. Qin Feiyang and Madman looked at each other. This wolf cub was too ruthless. He actually wanted to make these people roll in the cesspool. However, it seemed quite interesting. Qin Feiyang looked at this group of people with ridicule. With a thought, Theta Wang appeared beside him. Looking at Pei Wanli and the others, Theta Wang was first stunned. However, looking at these people in such a sorry state, she understood that these people weren't friends but enemies. Theta Wang, help me prepare something. Qin Feiyang whispered a few words in Theta Wang's ears. What? Theta Wang looked at Qin Feiyang in shock. Go. As for the location, let's do it in the Soul Sealing Valley. Qin Feiyang smiled. Okay. Theta Wang nodded. She glanced at the group of people with schadenfreude and then flew away at lightning speed. There were ordinary people in every place. They ate, drank, and pooped 3 times a day. Hence, it wasn't hard to find something like this. What are you guys trying to do? Looking at the eyes of Qin Feiyang and the others, Pei Wanli and the others couldn't help but have an uneasy feeling. Nothing. I just saw that you were too dirty, so I invited you to take a bath. I guarantee that you will feel refreshed and refreshed. White-eyed Wolf chuckled. Would they believe it? Of course not. Qin Feiyang turned to look at Boss Xing and said, take away their interspatial rings. Don't worry. I've already taken away their interspatial rings as soon as they were sent here. And I've also obtained 2 supreme-level divine artifacts. Boss Xing waved his hand. A black sickle and a black armor appeared. Both of the divine artifacts emitted a gloomy aura. Both the black sickle and the black armor had patterns of skulls on them. Huh? Qin Feiyang, Boss Xing, and White-Eyed Wolf walked up and looked at them curiously. They were indeed 2 supreme-level divine artifacts. Whose are they? Qin Feiyang looked up at Boss Xing. Do you even need to ask? Of course they're his. Boss Xing pointed behind him. The 2 men and the wolf looked up and saw an old man lying in the void. Half of his head was gone, which looked extremely scary. As for the 2 supreme-level divine artifacts, they were very obedient. They even had a feeling of fear. Because they knew that this was Qin Feiyang's territory. If they messed around here, they would be courting death. So this is your true face. I thought you had 3 heads and 6 arms. Qin Feiyang walked over and looked at the old man with a smile. That's right. This person was the commander of the Dark Guards. The commander of the Dark Guards looked up at him weakly and remained silent. He is? White-Eyed Wolf and Boss Xing were a little confused. The commander of the Dark Guards. Qin Feiyang smiled. So it's him. White-Eyed Wolf nodded in realization. But the next moment, he was shocked. He looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, I heard that this guy has mastered the law of time. Yes. Just now, he wanted to use time stop to escape. Qin Feiyang nodded and smiled. Time stop. White-Eyed Wolf's eyes suddenly lit up. Looking at White-Eyed Wolf's eyes, the commander of the Dark Guards couldn't help but feel goosebumps. It was as if he was staring at a delicious cake. Madman looked at White-Eyed Wolf with envy and smiled. Brother Wolf, your chance to soar is here. Time stop is the 5th profound of the law of time. The 5th profound? White-Eyed Wolf was stunned. Yes. Furthermore, the 5th profundity of the law of time doesn't just stop time. It also reverses time, just like the time reversal of Mu Tianyang's heaven-defying blood blade. Wait, you don't know? When the 2 old men were explaining the law of time, they mentioned this. Madman looked at White-Eyed Wolf suspiciously. The 2 old men he was talking about were naturally the Hall of Famers and Elder Hua, because both of them had mastered the law of time. How would he know? He didn't listen at all. He kept drinking Black Tortoise Divine Brew outside. Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes at White-Eyed Wolf. White-Eyed Wolf ignored Qin Feiyang and looked at Madman. Then, after fusing with his law of time, this brother will also be able to master these two profound? Nonsense. Why are you asking me about your third innate ability? Madman said angrily. Hee hee, White-Eyed Wolf grinned and said, this brother always thought that time stop was the highest profound. I didn't expect it to only be the fifth profound. Xingda said, Vice Leader is very familiar with this person. I heard him say that he has also comprehended the highest profound. Comprehended the highest profound. White-Eyed Wolf's eyes widened. The Dark Guard commander had indeed comprehended the highest profound of the law of time. When facing Qin Feiyang, he didn't use the highest profound because he knew that even if he did, he wouldn't be able to block the blood-colored sword. Therefore, he wanted to use time stop to stall Qin Feiyang, even if it was only for a short while. Unfortunately, dreams were beautiful, reality was cruel. You are really lucky. After fusing with his law of time, you will have mastered two supreme profound of the strongest laws and can even break through to the initial stage of the Dominator realm. At that time, even if you encounter a Dominator at the late stage, you will be able to instantly kill them. Madman shook his head with a face full of envy. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't envious of White-Eyed Wolf's third innate ability. As for the highest profound, Qin Feiyang and Madman didn't know. When the Hall of Famers and Elder Huo were explaining the law of time, they didn't talk about the highest profound. Not only the supreme profound of the law of time, but also the supreme profound of the other laws. The reason was that he didn't want everyone to bite off more than they could chew. He would look for them after comprehending the fifth profound. Ha! The White-Eyed Wolf laughed happily and roared, Xingda, restrain him. Boom! The next moment, a golden beast shadow appeared. Xingda had also offended the White-Eyed Wolf from the vice leader, so he knew what the White-Eyed Wolf wanted to do. However, seeing it for the first time, he couldn't help but be shocked. With the emergence of the pressure, the Dark Guard commander was immediately confined in the void. What are you guys doing? The Dark Guard commander panicked. He had also guessed a little. Because the conversation between Madman and the White-Eyed Wolf wasn't hidden, he had heard it all. Moreover, the moment the golden beast shadow appeared, he felt a great sense of danger, and this danger came from the law of time. Take it away. The White-Eyed Wolf roared, and waves of golden light surged, drowning the Dark Guard commander. Qin Feiyang was also watching intently. He was filled with curiosity. Because he was fighting outside when the White-Eyed Wolf took away the Grand Deacon's law of death, he didn't see it with his own eyes. Of course, he couldn't miss it this time. Not only Qin Feiyang and Xingda, but the dozens of Dark Guards, Pei Wanli, and the others were also looking at this scene in surprise. As for Madman, he had witnessed the whole process last time, so he didn't pay much attention to it. He lowered his head, and his eyes flickered. No one knew what he was thinking. Chapter 3308. After a short while, Qin Feiyang's eyes narrowed. He saw that the golden divine light was like a giant hand, pulling out a piece of law from the Dark Guard commander's body. It was at this moment. The Dark Guard commander felt the disappearance of the time law. What's going on? In his heart, he was very surprised. He actually lost the time law. Could it be that this divine ability could really deprive him of his law? No. The time law was his strongest means and his capital to establish himself in the sky cloud realm. Once he lost the time law, even if he was still alive, his past glory and status would all be lost. This absolutely couldn't happen. Qin Feiyang, quickly ask it to return the time law to me. In the future, I will work for you. Whatever you ask me to do, I will do it. I beg you. Don't deprive me of my time law. He wailed, his tone full of despair. Work for me, Qin Feiyang was stunned. Believe me, I am a paragon sovereign. With my strength, as long as there is no sovereign weapon, no one can defeat me. I can help you. I beg you, give me a way out. I promise, I will follow you wholeheartedly. If you ask me to go east, I will never go west. No one was willing to lose everything they had. Especially the power of law. Not to mention the strongest law like the time law, just the ordinary power of law. To comprehend the profound meaning of the major laws, not only would it take a long time, but it would also take a little bit of precipitation. But even so, one might not be able to comprehend it, let alone the profound meaning. For someone like the Dark Guard commander, losing the strongest law meant that his life was completely over. So, instead of being deprived, it was better to betray the Blood Hall and seek refuge with Qin Feiyang. Although it might be a topic of ridicule, at least he could muddle through. Work for me, Qin Feiyang murmured with a smile. If the white-eyed wolf didn't have this ability, I would definitely consider it. After all, you are indeed very strong. But now it's different. After the white-eyed wolf integrated with your time law, not only can he inherit your time law, but he can also inherit the profound meaning. So for me, there is no loss. What? This isn't a simple deprivation? Instead, you want to steal his laws of time? When Pei Dason and the rest of the Dark Guards heard this, their hearts were filled with shock. Snatching another person's law of time and fusing it with himself? How could this be possible? This was too absurd. He had never heard of such a perverted thing in the world. Wait a minute. Could it be that its law of death was stolen from someone else? The ultimate profundity of the laws of death, could it be the Great Deacon's? The crowd was shocked to the extreme. They looked at the white-eyed wolf again as if they were looking at a demon. What kind of monster was this? Amidst the Dark Guard commander's howls of despair, the deprivation finally ended. I'm going to fuse with it. The white-eyed wolf excitedly looked at Qin Feiyang and the madman before turning around and flying away. Wait! Madman, who had been looking down as if he was thinking about something, immediately looked up at the white-eyed wolf and shouted. What? The white-eyed wolf stopped and turned to look at him suspiciously. The madman moved closer and chuckled. Brother Wolf, is your third ability only useful to you? What else? The white-eyed wolf raised an eyebrow. Is this kid stupid? Of course, his ability was only useful to him. The madman smiled flatteringly. What I mean is, can your ability also allow us to fuse with one or two law powers? You're thinking too much. The white-eyed wolf looked at him with disdain before disappearing into the blood sea without looking back. Ah! The madman was stunned and then smiled bitterly. He was indeed thinking too much. This ability belonged to the white-eyed wolf, so it could only help the white-eyed wolf fuse with law powers. He was really stupid to be thinking about such a beautiful dream. Qin Feiyang looked at the madman and couldn't help but shake his head and laugh. However, the madman couldn't be blamed because even he envied the white-eyed wolf from the bottom of his heart. It's gone, it's all over, little bastard, just kill me. I'll go to the netherworld and become a malicious spirit. Then I'll come back for your dog life. The Shadow Guard commander seemed to have lost his soul as he muttered to himself. His dim eyes had no luster. In the end, he couldn't suppress the anger in his heart as he looked up at Qin Feiyang and roared with resentment. Malicious spirit? Qin Feiyang was slightly taken aback. He looked at Xingde and said indifferently, this person has no value anymore. Understood. Xingde nodded and stepped in front of the Shadow Guard commander. He sneered. You don't even have the chance to become a ghost. Boom! The power of law rolled out and instantly drowned the Shadow Guard commander. Then, in the endless screams, the Shadow Guard commander turned into dust and disappeared in front of everyone's eyes. Dead, a dignified overlord, a top powerhouse of the Sky Cloud realm, was killed just like that. Pei Dason and the group of Shadow Guards witnessed this scene with their own eyes and couldn't help but tremble. Even a powerhouse like the Dark Guard commander could be killed so easily, let alone people like them. After the Dark Guard commander died, Qin Feiyang also retracted his gaze. He swept his gaze over Pei Dason's group and the Dark Guards. His eyes flickered as he looked at Pei Wanli and said with a smile, "You, come here." "What?" Pei Wanli's face was filled with horror. "I told you to come here, so come here." Qin Feiyang beckoned. Pei Wanli shook his head. "But is that so?" Qin Feiyang's eyes were cold. I'll come." Pei Wanli trembled and struggled to get up. He staggered towards Qin Feiyang with a face full of panic. Qin Feiyang raised his hand. Seeing this, Pei Wanli suddenly retreated in horror. Qin Feiyang was stunned. He grabbed Pei Wanli's shoulder and dragged him in front of him. He smiled and said, "Don't be nervous, I won't kill you." At the same time, his other hand took out the Divine Life pill and Yuan Hai pill and handed it to Pei Wanli. Pei Wanli was very surprised. What was going on? He actually gave him a pill to heal his injuries? He definitely didn't have good intentions. He didn't dare to take it. "Quickly take it," Qin Feiyang said coldly. Pei Wanli trembled and hurriedly grabbed the pill and stuffed it into his mouth. He wondered if this pill was poisonous. "Look at you, I'm talking to you nicely, but you're still trembling in fear and want me to be fierce to you. Aren't you a masochist?" Qin Feiyang was helpless. What else did Pei Wanli dare to say now? He could only nod and smile. "Don't be like a soft-footed shrimp. You're the grandson of the Blood Hall's Hall Master. Be a little tougher." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and then looked at the group of people and asked, "Who is Hai Qingliang and Hai Qingji?" No one said a word. "If you don't speak, I'll kill all of you." Qin Feiyang's face turned slightly cold. "We are." Hai Qingliang and Hai Qingji quickly got up. "You guys come over too." Qin Feiyang smiled at the two of them. The two brothers looked at each other and could only bite the bullet and walk over. "Don't be nervous. I'm not the Demon King. I won't take your lives casually." Qin Feiyang smiled and asked, "You guys are old Hai's grandchildren?" Yes. The two of them nodded repeatedly. "Look at you guys. You're all people with status and background. Why is your cultivation not as good as me and senior brother Fengzi?" Qin Feiyang shook his head and sighed. Yes, we're too stupid. We've caused you trouble. Sorry, we apologize to you." The three of them nodded submissively. "What are you trying to do?" "You guys are causing trouble for your grandfather. Originally, it was a very good strategy for them to let you hide outside. First, they could protect you. Second, they could deal with me without any worries. But what happened in the end? You guys just couldn't bear the loneliness and insisted on going to the nearby town to play. Now look, I just happened to bump into you. Tell me, if this isn't causing trouble for them, then what is?" Qin Feiyang shook his head. If he had such a grandson, he would definitely slap him to death in anger. "What? You bumped into us in that town?" The three of them looked stiff. "Yes, don't you think it's a coincidence? I was worried about where to find you guys, but you guys took the initiative to come to me." Qin Feiyang smiled. "You three unfilial sons, I told you not to run around, but you insisted on running out. Now, you've caused everyone's death." Pei Dason roared. Hai Qingliang's parents were also full of anger. The three of them lowered their heads, their hearts full of regret. Why couldn't they endure it? Now, because of a fluke, not only did they harm themselves, but they also harmed their families. Qin Feiyang looked at Pei Dason and the others and smiled. "Don't be so agitated. I didn't say that I'm going to kill you now. Anyway, you'll die sooner or later." Pei Hongyu snorted. "It's hard to say. Because it depends on whether the Blood Hall Master and Old Hai care about you." Qin Feiyang chuckled, looked at Pei Wanli, and said, "Send a message to your grandfather." Send a message to grandfather. Pei Wanli was stunned. At this moment, they all understood that they were being used as bargaining chips. Young master, his voice transmission stone is with me. Xingde walked to Qin Feiyang and handed a voice transmission stone to Qin Feiyang. Why is it with you? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. Xingde laughed and said, when I took their interspatial rings, I took it along with them. You're quite careful. Qin Feiyang smiled and gestured to give the voice transmission stone to Pei Wanli. Xingde took the voice transmission stone and handed it to Pei Wanli. Pei Wanli glanced at the divine sound transmission stone, then glanced at Qin Feiyang. His expression was extremely hesitant. If his grandfather were to know that he was found by Qin Feiyang because he ran out to play, then he would definitely rain a torrent of abuse on him. Hurry up, don't waste my time. Qin Feiyang smiled. Pei Wanli braced himself and grabbed the voice transmission stone. Now, his sea of qi was almost recovered. After all, it was the primordial sea divine pill with 7 dragon-shaped elixirs. Hurry up. Xingda's eyes turned cold and his killing intent shrouded Pei Wanli. Pei Wanli quivered and quickly activated the voice transmission stone. Chapter 3309. After a while. Buzz. A phantom appeared. It was none other than the Blood Hall's Hall Master. What's wrong with you? The Master of the Blood Hall had a smile on his face, but when he saw Pei Wanli covered in blood, his smile disappeared. Grandpa, Pei Wanli was about to speak when Qin Feiyang grabbed the stone and then pushed Pei Wanli away. Immediately, their gazes collided. Qin Feiyang? The Master of the Blood Hall was stunned and shouted, "Why are you with my grandson? Isn't it obvious? He has fallen into my hands." Qin Feiyang smiled. How is this possible? The Master of the Blood Hall was in disbelief. He had hidden so well, but he was still found by this person. Nothing is impossible in the world. Besides your grandson, I have many acquaintances of yours here. Qin Feiyang turned the divine sound transmitting stone to face the group of secret guards, Pei Dason, and the others. Master, save us. Father, we don't want to die. The group of people immediately called for help. The Master of the Blood Hall looked at them one by one and his face was extremely gloomy. They never expected that Qin Feiyang would actually be able to find their hiding place. But how did he know? He knew. This place was close to the Death Glacier and there were few people around. In his memory, there was no safer and more secretive place than here. Besides, he was very confident. Qin Feiyang would definitely think that he would carefully place the people around him in the Blood Hall for protection. But why were they caught by Qin Feiyang now? Could it be that there were spies of Qin Feiyang among these people? But it was impossible. These people were the family members of him and the masters of the Blood Hall. They were all Qin Feiyang's enemies. Who would tip off Qin Feiyang? Don't be like Pei Dason and say that I'm despicable. Qin Feiyang laughed. The Master of the Blood Hall asked, "What do you want?" It's simple. Exchange hostages. Look, these are all your family members. Even if you don't include the shadow guards, there are still 50 to 60 people. Use them to exchange for the Mermaid Emperor, the White-Winged Emperor, the Alliance Master, Yi Miao, and the 2 mythical beasts. To you, this should be a very good deal. Qin Feiyang smiled. The Blood Hall Master clenched his fists. Exchanging hostages was indeed a good deal for him. However, the Mermaid Emperor and the White Wing Emperor were the only bargaining chips that could restrain Qin Feiyang. If they were returned to Qin Feiyang now, what would the Blood Hall use to negotiate with Qin Feiyang in the future? Most importantly, even without these 2 bargaining chips, Qin Feiyang could still attack the Blood Hall without any scruples. There was also the Alliance Master and the 2 divine beasts. They were all top experts in the Sky Cloud realm, especially the Alliance Master. He was known as the #1 expert in the space law in the Sky Cloud realm. Once he was released, it would be like releasing a tiger back to the mountain. As for Yi Miao, it didn't matter to him. All in all, this seemed to be a good deal, but in front of him, there would be endless troubles. You don't have to give me an answer now. Anyway, I'm very patient. I can wait. However, I'm afraid your children and grandchildren won't be able to wait that long. Think about it carefully. Once you've thought about it, let Yi Miao send a message to Yuqing. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly and crushed the transmission stone. As for Pei Wanli's Sea of Qi, it was once again crushed by Xingde under Qin Feiyang's signal. Damn it, damn it. Blood Hall. The Blood Hall master roared again and again. My lord, what happened? A secret guard ran in and looked at him in surprise. Immediately inform Old Hai and the 9 deacons. Tell them to go to the conference hall immediately. I have something urgent to discuss with them. Also, tell the secret guard commander to come back. The Blood Hall master shouted. Yes. The shadow guard responded and immediately turned to run out. What had happened to make the Blood Hall master so angry? Black Tortoise World. Whether you can survive now depends on the decision of the Blood Hall master. Qin Feiyang looked at Pei Dason and the others and smiled faintly. Then, he turned to Xingde and said, stay here and watch over them. Yes. Xingde nodded. Then, Qin Feiyang looked at the 2 supreme-grade heaven-defying artifacts and said with a smile, what are your choices? We submit. The 2 supreme-grade heaven-defying artifacts answered without hesitation. Traitor. Spineless. Pei Dason and the others scolded. Qin Feiyang looked at the group and smiled. What do you know? A wise man submits to circumstances. Then, he looked at the 2 supreme weapons and said, follow Xingde for now. When you perform well, I'll consider letting you enter the land of origin. Thank you, young master. We'll definitely perform well. The 2 supreme weapons were overjoyed. They actually had the chance to enter the land of origin? What a fortune. Qin Feiyang smiled and waved his hand. Then, he disappeared without a trace with the secret guards. You bastards. The Dark Guard commander spent so much effort to train you. Now, not only did you not take revenge for the Dark Guard commander, you even defected to Qin Feiyang. Do you have any conscience? As soon as Qin Feiyang left, Pei Dason and the others looked at the 2 supreme weapons and scolded them. Conscience? Are you stupid? You want to talk about conscience with us? Besides, the Dark Guard commander trained us to help him kill his enemies. At most, we're just using each other. The 2 supreme weapons sneered. Bastards. No, you're worse than bastards. Pei Dason roared. You're courting death. The 2 divine artifacts were enraged and went up to give him a good beating. Pei Hongyu glanced at Pei Dason and the 2 supreme weapons. Then, she looked at Xingde and said, I remember that you're under the Vice Alliance leader. Hearing this, Boss Xing looked at her expressionlessly. You've been with the Vice Alliance leader for so many years, but you don't even have a supreme weapon. Don't you think it's a waste of your talent? But as long as you help us now, I promise that I'll not only give you supreme weapons, but I'll also give you supreme divine arts. In short, as long as you want something, other than the sovereign weapon, we can satisfy you. Pei Hongyu said temptingly. Xingde couldn't help but sneer. If he really cared about these things, he would have left the Rogue Cultivators Alliance and defected to the Demonic Palace. Why would he wait until now? What's so good about Qin Feiyang? Why are you working so hard for him? Pei Hongyu said angrily. You're not qualified to judge whether the young master is good or not. If you continue to talk nonsense, I'll kill you. Anyway, I have so many bargaining chips. You're just one more. Xingda's eyes flashed with killing intent. She actually wanted to persuade him to defect? This woman must be an idiot. Blood Sea. On the other side. Qin Feiyang looked at the group of dark guards standing in front of him in silence. There were exactly 55 of them. Seeing that Qin Feiyang was silent, the group of secret guards were all flustered. "Kill us if you want to." One of the dark guards mustered up his courage and stood out, looking at Qin Feiyang and roaring. "Do you want to die so badly?" Qin Feiyang asked with a smile. "I don't want to die. But I know that I'll die if I fall into your hands. So, I might as well be straightforward." The dark guard said. "Not bad. You're very aware." Qin Feiyang nodded and said, "However, I don't intend to kill you." "What do you mean?" The group of dark guards looked at each other. He didn't intend to kill them? Was this person so kind? Of course, I won't be so kind. You have all seen the fate of the Dark Guard commander with your own eyes. I will not hesitate to kill an expert like him, let alone you. But after thinking about it, it's not easy for you to cultivate to the sovereign realm. So, I want to give you a chance. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. You want us to defect from the Blood Palace and follow you? One of the Dark Guards asked. Smart. I also hope that you can make a smart choice. Qin Feiyang smiled. Impossible. We'll never do something like dragging out an ignoble existence. Another Dark Guard shouted coldly. Xingde is right. It's a bit difficult to make you submit willingly. Qin Feiyang smiled. Since you already know, why waste your breath? Come, give us a quick death. The group of Dark Guards closed their eyes. I'm puzzled. Even the Dark Guard commander wanted to follow me before he died. Why are you subordinates so stubborn? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. The commander is the commander. We are us. Besides, do you really think the commander wants to follow you? What a joke. That's just a delaying tactic. Once he recovers his chi ocean, it'll be your doomsday. The group of Dark Guards sneered. Since they were going to die, there was nothing to be afraid of. So, all of them became arrogant. So that's how it is. Fortunately, I didn't believe him. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, Are you sure you don't want to follow me? Think carefully. The decision you make now will affect your future achievements. Future achievements? We've already reached the sovereign realm. What achievements do we need? There's nothing to pursue. Come, stop nagging. The group of Dark Guards urged. They were truly fearless in the face of death. Nothing to pursue. Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned. He shook his head and said, Are you guys so easily satisfied? Yes, your cultivation has indeed reached the peak of the sky cloud boundary. But what about your strength? When the group of Dark Guards heard this, they couldn't help but open their eyes and look at Qin Feiyang. Have any of you comprehended the Supreme Profound? Have any of you comprehended the Supreme Law? Qin Feiyang asked with a smile. The group of Dark Guards shook their heads. Since there isn't any, then why don't you dare to pursue? Qin Feiyang said. The Supreme Profound, the Supreme Law, do you think it's cabbage that can be picked up on the street? A Dark Guard sneered. I know it's difficult. For you guys, it's a height that you can't reach in your lifetime. But as long as you follow me, I won't necessarily help you comprehend the Supreme Profound, but there will at least be a glimmer of hope. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. I don't believe you. The group of Dark Guards shook their heads. Do you think you're the god of creation? You want to help us comprehend the Supreme Profound? Chapter 33:10. You think I'm joking with you? Even if you're paragon sovereigns, you're just a bunch of frogs at the bottom of a well. Open your eyes wide and look carefully. Qin Feiyang sneered mercilessly and tore off his shirt. The group of secret guards wanted to laugh. He actually called them a bunch of frogs at the bottom of a well? However, when they saw Qin Feiyang tearing off his shirt, they were stunned. What did he mean? Seduction? Fuck. We're not interested in men, okay? Wait. But suddenly, they noticed the potential imprint on Qin Feiyang's chest. What's this? The group of secret guards suddenly became bewildered. Did you notice that this imprint is a bit familiar? Where have I seen it before? It's a bit familiar, but I can't recall it at the moment. Wait. This seems to be a potential imprint. Potential imprint? Yes, it's exactly the same as the potential imprint I saw in the ancient books. What's going on? Did he open the door of potential? At this moment, the secret guard's expressions were extremely interesting. Shock, doubt, disbelief. There was even a secret guard who instinctively walked towards Qin Feiyang step by step. When he reached in front of Qin Feiyang, he even reached out to touch the potential imprint. The corner of Qin Feiyang's mouth twitched, and he quickly took a step back. Forget about touching. Just looking is enough. How is it? Qin Feiyang looked at the group of secret guards and said contemptuously, "Now you admit that you're a frog at the bottom of a well?" The group of secret guards looked at each other and then looked at Qin Feiyang in unison, asking, "Is this a potential imprint or not?" Of course. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and raised his hand to wipe it to prove that it wasn't drawn. This is impossible. Since ancient times, no one has been able to open the door of potential in the sky cloud realm. It must be fake. The group of secret guards shook their heads. No one has opened it in the sky cloud realm, but it doesn't mean that no one has opened it in other places. Look at my black tortoise realm. Not only me, but my friends and beasts have all opened the door of potential. Moreover, except for the sovereign realm, all the other realms' doors of potential have all been opened. Even the ferocious beasts beside me have opened all the doors of potential. As for you so-called perfect dominator realm experts, you haven't even opened a single door of potential. Do you suddenly feel a huge blow? Qin Feiyang smiled and then took out a new white robe and put it on. No, the secret guards still couldn't believe it. Let's not talk about me, the people around me, and the ferocious beasts around me. Even many of the creatures in the black tortoise world have opened one or two doors of potential. You still don't believe? Sure, follow me to a place. I'll let you experience it for yourself. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and brought a group of people to the hall of the ancient castle. The crowd scanned the castle. Was this the Dominator divine weapon? Don't worry. The castle won't do anything to you. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and turned to look at a cultivation room on the second floor. He said, "Dan Wangkai, come out." The stone door opened and Dan Wangkai walked out with a medicinal fragrance all over his body. "Young master." Dan Wangkai bowed. "Give me a potential pill." Qin Feiyang stretched out his hand. Dan Wangkai glanced at the secret guards and took out a potential pill from his universe ring and placed it in Qin Feiyang's hand. Qin Feiyang glanced at the group of secret guards and pointed at one of them. It was a middle-aged man with a burly figure. He was about 1.9 meters tall and looked very valiant. At this moment, he looked at the potential pill in Qin Feiyang's hand and was full of doubts. "You, come here," Qin Feiyang said. The middle-aged man walked up. "Take it." Qin Feiyang threw the potential pill to the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man caught the potential pill and hesitated for a moment. He gritted his teeth and threw it into his mouth. "Don't worry. It's not poisonous." Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes. After that, he looked at the ancient castle and said, "Ancient castle, can I trouble you to release a bit of your oppressive might?" Boom! The pressure of the ruler divine weapon immediately shrouded the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man panicked. "Sit down. Don't be distracted," Qin Feiyang shouted. The middle-aged man immediately sat on the ground and focused. Ah! After a few breaths, he roared and his body shook violently. Dazzling light immediately bloomed from his chest. The other shadow guards hurriedly looked over and were all dumbfounded. After the light dissipated, a potential imprint appeared. The middle-aged man lowered his head and looked at the potential mark. He was completely stunned. He opened a door of potential so easily. How do you feel? Someone looked at the middle-aged man and asked. I feel great. My essence, chi, and spirit have been refined. The middle-aged man replied and then shouted, this is indeed a potential mark. It's not a dream. It's real. What kind of pill is that? It can open the door of potential for these people. Wait. It said that the pill formula in the first volume of the pill scripture can open the door of potential for those below the ruler realm. Could it be that the so-called potential pill is one of the pill formulas in the first volume of the pill scripture? In other words, the legendary first volume of the pill scripture is in this person's hands? When the group thought of this, their eyes trembled and they looked at Qin Feiyang in shock. It's your ancestors' good fortune that the young master has taken a liking to you. Cherish it. Dan Wangkai said coldly and turned to return to the cultivation room. Now you know. As long as I'm willing, I can open the door of potential for all of you. I said that all of you are frogs at the bottom of the well. Do you admit it now? Qin Feiyang looked at the group of people indifferently. When the group heard this, they smiled bitterly. Who would have thought that this person would have the pill to open the door of potential? In a sense, the value of the door of potential was higher than the ruler divine weapon. Now, they finally understood why Qin Feiyang and Madman Mo's talents were so terrifying. It turned out that they had opened the door of potential. Immediately, they couldn't help but feel a fire in their hearts. If they also opened all the doors of potential, they would be reborn in an instant. Especially their comprehension, it would increase countless times. In this way, wouldn't there be hope for them to comprehend the Supreme Profound? Not to mention the Supreme Profound, if they could comprehend the Supreme Profound of the Supreme Profound of the Supreme Profound, it would be a leap in transformation. If they could comprehend all the Supreme Profound of the 6 Supreme Profound that they had mastered, even if they didn't have the Supreme Profound, it would be enough to dominate the Sky Cloud realm. At that time, their status and value in the Sky Cloud realm would naturally rise. What's wrong? Are you tempted? But I've changed my mind now. I don't want to accept you. Go to hell. Qin Feiyang chuckled. When the group of people heard this, their expressions suddenly froze. Don't blame me. You asked for it. If you had agreed before, everything would have been fine, but now, Qin Feiyang shook his head, his face full of disdain, and said indifferently, with these pills, I don't have to worry about no one coming to find me. Don't. We were wrong, we were wrong. We shouldn't have doubted you. Qin Feiyang, no, young master, please accept us. We promise that we will follow you loyally in the future. Even if you want us to kill our way into the Blood Palace, we won't frown. When the group of secret guards heard this, they all knelt on the ground, fawning and begging. They were as humble as they could be. This, Qin Feiyang looked hesitant. We were really wrong. We are frogs at the bottom of a well. Please, I beg you, just think of us as homeless orphans. Can you take pity on us? Who didn't want to open the door of potential? However, it was impossible to do so with their own abilities. Now that there was such an opportunity, they definitely couldn't miss it. No matter what, they had to stay. Qin Feiyang glanced at the group of people and nodded, I'm sure it's quite pitiful. However, how do you expect me to trust you? The group of people was at a loss. However, suddenly, the middle-aged man said, Young master, didn't I hear that you have a kind of control secret technique? You can control us. Even if I control you, what if you don't want to live and die together with me? Qin Feiyang looked at them mockingly. No. In this world, who doesn't care about their own lives? How can we be so stupid to die together with you? This won't do us any good. Young master, trust us. As long as you help us open the door of potential, you will be our second parent. We will definitely be filial to you. The group of people looked at Qin Feiyang pitifully, as if they were children begging for attention. Cough cough. Qin Feiyang choked. Second parent? This was too exaggerated. In terms of age, which one of these people wasn't an ancestor-level antique? It was a little old to be their parent. Please, I beg you, the group of people begged endlessly and almost hugged his thigh. All right. Seeing that you are so sincere, I will reluctantly accept you. But remember, this is definitely not coercion. Qin Feiyang said. Of course. We are all willing. If anyone dares to say that you forced us, we will be the first to kill them. The group of people was wild with joy. Even when they broke through to the perfection sovereign realm, they weren't so happy. People like them didn't have many pursuits. After all, they were already standing at the top and their lives were considered to have come to an end. However, it was different now. The appearance of the door of potential ignited their fighting spirit and ignited their desire for strength. In short, to them, the potential pill was equivalent to a new life. Moreover, it was a new life with limitless possibilities. There was even hope for them to surpass those giants in the Tianyun world. Qin Feiyang formed seals with both hands and enslavement seals appeared one after another. The group of people were like little sheep, kneeling on the ground and obediently accepting the control. They didn't have the slightest intention to resist. They were even more obedient than children. You're tuning into the Biyao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.